Welcome to the story of Ser Sam, about how I met Lady Saber, and how she let a chat come between us. So, let's get started. Story number 1. Introduction to Ser Sam.
This story is about when I met Ser Sam. Now let's introduce the characters. Player number 1 is me, Lady Saber. I'm 16 at the time. I'm Finnish. I grew up in Belgium. I'm here in America on a 2-year exchange program. At this time, I'm still pretty new to the country, so I'm going through a culture shock. I'm heavy into fencing. It's been my sport for something like 10 years. For neckbeards, it seems to make the katana-wielding milady as part of their dreams. Player number 2 is Smooth Cheek Neckbeard. We'll call him Samwell Tarley, just because they've got to be twins. Fat as all get out, wears cargo shorts and a bazinga shirt, sandals, and yes, the fedora. He also smells like sweat and old spaghetti sauce, and he has a really high-pitched nasally voice that sounds like a whiny toddler. Player 3 is John. He shares half of my courses and is really good at chess. He has a southern accent that I can listen to all day. I met Samwell at chess club. I'm pretty aware that it's a neckbeard spawn point by now, but I go because I like to play. There are some good apples though, like John, so when I was there I'd mostly just talk with him. Today, however, he's running late, and he gets upstaged by Samwell. I'm setting up the board, and the seat across from me is empty, so Samwell asks to play. I try to politely turn him down, telling him that I was waiting for someone. Sam replies with,
Well, I don't see him.
I grind my teeth a little at this. Samwell plops into the chair. He introduces himself with the tip of the fedora. I wish I was kidding. I was not aware of the neckbeard stereotype at this point, otherwise I probably would have lost it right there. I play with Samwell though, rather than excuse myself. It quickly becomes clear that he's not familiar with the most special rules of chess. He accuses me of cheating on more than one occasion. First when I make an en passant capture, then when I castle queenside. He also tries to castle out of check. It's profoundly annoying. Not because of what he's doing, I'm perfectly willing to teach new players the rules, but because he's certain that he's right about it. He reminds me a lot of Michael Scott from The Office, just generally throwing fits and whining like a child when he's wrong, except more annoying and cringy. Samwell is trying to make conversation with me, I'm not really sure what about, because I cannot stand to listen to his voice. He's swearing like a sailor, I guess to try to sound edgy. With his voice, he just sounds like another kid on Xbox Live. I'm not able to tune out the food, however. In the middle of our game, he breaks out this all-you-can-eat buffet of pasta, ravioli, and God knows what else, all packaged in a Tupperware container. Thanks, Mom. My food etiquette, it is probably a little uptight compared to most Americans, but this was just obscene. He's shoveling it in mid-sentence, chewing and smacking, with his mouth wide open, spilling stuff all over himself. The food itself smells like death. And his face hole wasn't making things better. Meat sauce residue, it moves from spoon to his face, to fingers, and to chess pieces at an alarming speed. We get closer and closer to the end of the game, and Samwell takes longer and longer to move, even when he only has one possible move. Enter John. Finally, he sees me playing with Samwell, and he looks a little hurt that he's been upstaged, but he's content just to watch. I can tell John is put off by the smell too. John and I start a small side conversation, and Samwell is eyeing us back and forth. Then Samwell said,
Is he your boyfriend?
This is only going to go 2 ways. Yes, we're dating, and you're a third wheel, or we are not dating, and awkward. John and I laugh nervously, and we tell him no. Then chivalry ensues.
Why don't you have a boyfriend?
Well, I haven't been here very long.
Oh, well, when you do, make sure you watch out for all the holes and bags at school. They don't know how to treat a lady.
For the record, I was already well acquainted with the nice guy mentality. Call it morbid curiosity, but I decided to press the topic with Samwell.
What do you mean?
Well, lots of guys, unlike myself, like to treat women like objects. Most women haven't been treated like a real lady by a good guy.
I am not exaggerating this quote by an inch. It's forever etched in my memory, like spaghetti stains on white pants. John is standing to the side and slightly behind Samwell. He's cocking his head a bit, and he's giving me, "Is this guy for real?" eyes. I can see the train coming down the tracks, so I try to change the subject, but my good gentle sir cannot neglect to impose upon my lady with his philosophies.
Most girls don't realize how beautiful they really are, especially without makeup, so they degrade themselves to attract guys that don't even deserve them anyway. If you did, you would attract a guy like that.
3 tries later, he snaps his fingers. I went from cringe to rage pretty quickly, and I ended up making a stupid mistake, and the game ended in a stalemate, which he treated like a world champion victory. There's not quite enough time left in lunch to play another game with John, but too much time to leave early. I politely decline a handshake with Samwell and I stand up to talk to John. Samwell, sensing that he needed to be in our conversation, hauls himself from his seat. There's really only a narrow lane between the chess table and the computers. 2 people can stand face to face, but 3 people of normal girth would have trouble. Talk about an elephant in the room. Samwell sidles up next to me, mouth breathing and sweating, injecting himself into our conversation like a bad batch of heroin. I don't quite remember how, but fencing comes up. Samwell's eyes go big.
Wow, you fence? Like with a sword? That's so cool. Where do you go fence?
I get this question a lot more than you think. Most people don't really know much about the sport in the US, so this is a pretty harmless way to stimulate conversation about it. I don't think much of it, and eventually gave him the contact information for the gym I go to. I doubted that he'd ever get past Googling it, and at most, maybe give it to somebody else. My coaches here are really fantastic people, so I try to promote them as much as possible. Holy ravioli, I was in for a shock. Fencing practice is coming up next.
Story number 2. Ser Sam tries fencing.
Hello, gentle sirs and miladies. This is the second installment of Ser Samwell. Player number 1, me, Lady Saber, still 16, foreign exchange student, undergoing extensive culture shock therapy, very avid fencer. I've been doing it about 10 years. Player number 2 and 3, these are my fencing coaches. They're immigrants from Hungary, really fantastic people, husband and wife couple. Mr. Coach, he's a big guy with a thunderstorm of a voice. Mrs. Coach, she's petite, still yells louder than Mr. Coach. She's spooky quick, and always gives one-on-one instruction with people, even in group lessons. They're minor characters, but they rock. Player number 4 is Ser Samwell. Oh, I wish it wasn't. He's fat, sweaty mouth breather, and usually smells like death. His typical attire includes grungy, graphic tees, sandals, cargo shorts with pockets full of pasta and meat sauce. At least that's what it smells like. Either that or he bathes in it. Not sure, but it smells very pungent. Ser Sam's mother, Mrs. Sam. She's a minor character, but she shows up more often down the line, so I'll detail her. She's got curly hair, a feminine build, wears mom jeans, very warm and friendly. I guess this is a stereotypical suburban mom. This story occurs about a week after my last encounter with Ser Sam. To recap, the last time I gave him the contact information to the fencing class, I might as well gave Sauron the ring too. I want to give a bit of context first. When I'm practicing, I make zero attempt at my appearance. Makeup of any kind, mixed with sweat, it turns into an acne soup on my face, so I'll go without it. My hair is done up in a bun, and my boobs are squished into my sports bra. Seriously, you guys, this is very un-milady-like. Practice starts around 5 p.m. and it ends around 7:30 p.m. I'm there early to use the gym or go running before class, usually for 45 minutes. Today I run, making 2 circuits around the cross-country track, and make it back to the building maybe 10 minutes before class. There he is, Ser Sam, lumbering from the back seat of his minivan, and my heart lurches. He's actually wearing sneakers in lieu of the typical sandals, but without cargo shorts, a Call of Duty shirt, and fingerless gloves. I think that neckbeards always wear a minimum of neckbeard gear. Oh, and that fedora? Yes. He has a different one. It was some kind of awful reddish color. I had my suspicions that it started out as white. He might have used it as a ravioli receptacle. I'm not sure. As I make my approach back to the building, he gives me a full arm wave. He says something as I run by, but I keep going, through the double doors and to the gym area. I went to walk a lap as to cool down, and to take a drink of water. I'm running a solid high of endorphins. I'm finishing my lap when Ser Sam makes a grand entrance. He tries to pull the door, then he pushes it open by thrusting his shoulder against it. He stumbles inside, panting from Lord knows what. Ser Sam is miffed.
What the hell is that for?
What do you mean?
You just ran past me without saying anything. Why would you invite me if you won't even talk to me?
Sorry, Sam, I was just in my groove.
He stays mad, and he fee-fi-fo-fums over to the water fountain. The tall one doesn't work, and the short one doesn't put out a stream, and you can only get a drink by sucking at the spout. He gives up on that one and turns to me, asking if I have any water. I still don't know what for. I contemplate letting him touch his face hole to my water bottle, likely backwash into it. I'm feeling a little intimidated by him though, so I offer him the one I drink from. It's almost empty anyway, and I think that a bottle of bleach is enough to clean it.
No way! You've already drank from that one.
I know, gross, right? Before this escalates, Mr. and Mrs. Coach come out of the office area to see who's making a fuss. Mrs. Coach introduces herself to Ser Sam and his mother, who has parked and came inside. A few other people are trickling in. We have a half a dozen regulars in advanced class, and about 10 or so who are beginners. Mrs. Coach takes Ser Sam to the back equipment room to get him a set of gear. Mrs. Sam turns to me.
Are you Lady Saber?
Yeah. How do you know me?
Ser Sam told me all about you.
Fantastic.
Oh, okay.
He says that you two have gotten to be really good friends at school.
I bet he did. I'm about to explain that we played one strained game of chess before Mr. Coates calls me over for warm-ups. We line up side by side for stretching. Guess who's on my right? Both classes are taught in the same room, so I resign myself to having him over near me for the rest of the evening. Stretches become a horror show. Everyone has a varying flexibility. The idea is really to untie all of your muscles and ligaments so that you can practice. For Ser Sam, it's a competition. He nearly gave himself an aneurysm reaching for his knees. Practicing lunges was even worse. I have a very long lunge. My hips drop nearly down to the floor, and my legs are fully extended. It's weird, and it has its drawbacks. But it's just my thing. Ser Sam tries this once, and he falls over. I'm pretty sure that it measured on the Richter scale. Oh, did I mention that he's still wearing the fedora? He's still wearing the fedora. Eventually, it gets too cringy even for Mr. Coach, who tells him to set it aside. This continues for a whole freaking hour. Ser Sam has pretty much given up on trying to talk to me. He's huffing and puffing, red-faced and soaking himself in sweat. I feel a little bit sorry for him, putting in all that effort not to get the lady. Footwork practice was also hard to watch. If you want to get a picture of what Ser Sam looked like, just imagine King Arthur from Monty Python doing his gallop. Got that? Okay, now imagine that King Arthur is a hippopotamus, about 3 french fries and a Diet Coke away from a heart attack. That's what it looked like. Relish that for a moment. After warm-ups, we're supposed to do drills. These are designed to improve our technique. Before though, we change into our fencing uniforms with all of the protective gear. Usually, we all change in the gym, being that no one is actually getting naked. I, however, am in no mood to have Ser Sam see me in any form of undress, so I gather up my wad of clothing and hit the lockers. When I get back, Ser Sam is still dressing himself. The snug-fitting knickers won't accommodate both of his hams and his oversized cargo shorts. I didn't want to watch, but I couldn't look away. Getting his jacket on was equally difficult.
My arms don't bend that way.
Mrs. Coach is standing right there with him, helping the good sir dress, just like a loyal squire. After all of this, he whines about having to wear the fencing gloves instead of his own fingerless wonder grips.
But these got better traction.
I wish I was joking. The legitimate fencing glove was unacceptable as well.
These are too tight. They're making my hands claustrophobic.
Eventually, he sucked it up. We pair off for drilling. Sounds twisted. I'm sorry. These tend to be specific to the weapon we're using. I'm making it worse, aren't I? So, foil fencers work with foil fencers. Epi works with epi. You get the idea. The Saber group is an odd number, so the three of us decide to rotate so that we each take a turn. Ser Sam is quite distant, being in the beginner's foil group. It's almost like I finally got my sport back to myself. Yeah, as if. The foil group is also an odd number, so Sam slinks away from them and approaches me. I'm saved by the call of switch for about 10 minutes, until I rotate out. Ser Sam is waiting for me.
Hey, Lady Saber, has anyone ever told you look good in,
He pauses here for a second, like he doesn't think this compliment through, before finishing.
that jacket?
At first, I took it as a genuine compliment, until he raises his weapon. My mask isn't down, so this totally freaks me out. I think I might have yelled, and he makes a jab at my chest. It didn't connect. I brought my blade up, caught the weapon on the outside, and rotated my blade in a circle. He lets go, and his foil goes skittering across the floor, and right into the wall.
What'd you do that for?
Sam yells, squeaks. He goes quickly from scared to angry. Mr. Coach comes over asking what happened.
Lady Saber just knocked the sword out of my hand for no reason.
Mr. Coach turns to me.
I am sorry. He made an extension at me, and my mask was up. I just reacted.
Mr. Coach gives Sam a glare.
I didn't mean to. I'm just playing.
I have the urge to offer cheese with that wine. Mr. Coach is pretty mad, tells Sam to pick up his weapon, and he solders away and avoids me, finally, for the rest of the practice. I got to finish the last 45 minutes in peace. I almost forgot he was there, until I peeled off my sweaty, drenched uniform. My face is flushed, my legs are sore, and I smell like a wet dog. Everything's going great. Cue Ser Sam. Comes over behind me while I'm wiggling out of my knickers.
You need some help with that, miss?
I turn around to see what the whitest knight doth require, and he looks like he's been out in a rainstorm. His shirt is drenched. His thick cargo shorts are soaked in sweat. His hair, under his fedora, looks like a used mop. He smells like a festering corpse with his stench. I held my breath while I pulled my knickers off, in the least sexual way possible. I leave on my high fencing socks. I was not bending down, or getting down to my knee in front of him to remove them. Spaghetti breath is still panting. I pack my stuff into my bag and I stand up to go, praying that my ride will be outside. Ser Sam stands in front of me and says,
I'll take it for you.
Indicating my wheeled carry bag.
It's okay, I got it, Sam.
Please, I insist.
He grabs the handle with his sausage fingers. I let him take the handle, just wanting to be out of there. We're both waiting for the other to go. I walk with him trailing behind me, and I make a quick glance in the mirror. Sure enough, this Corpsosaurus Rex is staring straight at my butt without a care in the world. Also, my top is halfway translucent from sweat. Awesome. My ride isn't outside yet. Even though I'm 16, I can't get my license and drive in America for liability reasons, so I have to wait for my host family to pick me up. Ser Sam's mother is here though, but he doesn't leave. I tell him thanks for carrying my stuff, and he offers to wait with me.
I want to make sure that you get home safe.
It is pitch dark out, but Mr. and Mrs. Coach aren't leaving until last. Mrs. Sam pulls up next to us and rolls her window down.
Time to go, Ser Sam. Hi, Lady Saber.
Just give me a minute, Mom. I want to make sure that she gets home safe.
Mrs. Sam gives a chuckle, and she pulls into a parking place further down the lot. No, please, come back. I want to be safe, remember? Out of the blue, Ser Sam says,
Mom could be such a bitch.
Whoa, what? Why do you say that?
Because she's always doing like that. Getting all up in my business.
Tearing down your mom. A+ way to converse with my lady. He leans back, and with ninja stealth, he slides his hand along the concrete behind me. I turn my head and glance, letting him know that I see.
Ugh, these high socks are killing me.
Great. Now I'm satisfying my gentle sir's kinks. My ride was about 15 minutes late, but it felt like many hours. I finally see the headlights. I get up to grab my bag on the other side of Sam. Then I realize he has no intention of handing it to me. Instead, he expects me to bend over and pick it up. I either had to bend at my waist or squat to lift with my knees. He's just looking at me with an innocent smile.
Can you give me the handle of my bag?
I carried it out here for you. Don't be lazy.
I am absolutely not gonna put on a lap dance for this great white whale. His smirk is getting wider as my ride is pulling up through the roundabout. Finally, I have a witty comeback. I hook my foot under the handle and I give it a little kick upwards into my hand. I flash a smile and I strut my stuff to the car. What? Oh, you thought I was done? Cute. Wait till fencing part 2. It gets worse.
Story number 3, Ser Sam the cheerleader.
Player number 1, Lady Saber. I was 16 at the time, foreign exchange student here for a 2-year program, undergoing cultural shock and suffering chronic cringe pain from the daily interaction with Sam. Player 2 is Sam Spaghetti Breath, the ravioli and the fettuccine, lord of the sandal socks, protector of the ladies, complete lard, wears cargo shorts, Minecraft hoodie, New Balance sneakers, and an Argyle fedora. He reeks like the garbage disposal at an Italian restaurant. Now here's a supporting character. 3. John. Previously identified as a cute boy, slightly taller than Sam, and he and I share a lot of common interest, or at least interested in each other's interest. We're not dating yet, but it's heading in that direction. He and his family are from Louisiana, and he speaks passable French with a funny accent, which I make fun of often. AskFred.net is an online registration system used to sign up for fencing tournaments. It's a great tool to see who's going to the tournament and how many fencers will attend. This story takes place the Sunday after Sam's first fencing class at a local tournament. It's a rather large event with a great mix of fencers. Many coaches regularly send email updates to our group with the upcoming tournaments, and Sam was on this list. After a few days of school and a minor cringy run-in with Sam, I'm looking forward to a Sunday of competing for the first time in a long time. It's the first time in America. The Saber event is this afternoon, Foil is in the morning, and Epi is in between. I registered on Ask Fred a few days prior. John has expressed his interest in my fencing, so he tagged along to watch this tournament. It's about an hour drive, so we sit in the back seat and we talk crap about our classes. Both he and my host mother don't know much about fencing tournaments, so I'm sharing my knowledge on the subject. Regarding my appearance, I'm almost a polar opposite of how I present myself in practice. I do my hair and loose pigtails, apply eyeliner and blush, generally get dolled up. The makeup I use deals really well with sweat, but it's expensive, so only wear it to tournaments. The purpose here is to look innocent and harmless. It throws off the competition, and I look great in the medal photos. We arrive right on time, as Epi is finishing up and awarding medals. The last competitors are stumbling out, sweaty and gross, grinning like idiots on their victory rush. This tournament is being held in a dusty downstairs dojo. Pretty upscale as far as tournaments go. It smells like fermenting sweat and vaguely like marinara sauce. I sign in at the registration desk before descending. There he is. Chivalrous Sam is perching atop the bleachers, staring into my soul right across the room. His fedora is covering his massive dried sweat and grease that might have once been hair. Sam hails me with a full arm wave and a tip of the fedora, like he can't quite decide which one will win milady's heart. He gets to his feet and jog gallops down the bleachers, meeting me halfway. John, who had been walking behind me, draws up to my left.
Hey, Lady Saber, you look ravishing today.
I'm about to say thanks and move on, but John cuts in. Yeah, she does. In a warm tone of voice, he lays a hand on my elbow. It turns into a Mexican standoff, while these two rooster people suck in their breath and puff their chest out. I shoulder my way past Sam with John beside me. I set my stuff down against the wall, and I warm up with stretches. John sits on the bleachers next to me, and we talk about Sam. I'm not sure if Sam is here to fence, or if he's just staying there another 3 hours to watch me fence. I think he just saw me sign up and he just dropped in. Both prospects are equally discomforting. Sam is still standing in the middle of the room, trying to contain his anger because his chivalry was slighted by some D-bag. His nightly intuition must have indicated that I needed saving from this unchivalrous John, because that's when he joins in our conversation.
Are you here to fence today?
No, I came for aromatherapy.
Oh, hey Sam, I'm going to do Saber in a bit.
Cool beans. Are you wearing makeup?
Here we go.
Yeah.
Indeed, that's a pity. I think natural beauty is the way to go.
I smile awkwardly and nod, trying to work my way out of my own head. That way I can perform today. Sam opens his mouth to say something when John cuts him short. Sam, Lady Saber is trying to warm up.
John, Lady Saber and I were trying to conversate. Will you try not to interrupt, please?
John shakes his head and looks away. I finish my stretch routine, still a long way from my groove, and I dress into my uniform, while Sam sizes me up. He's making my skin crawl. In most fencing tournaments, there are 2 rounds of competition. The first, called pools. You fence everyone in your pool to get a feeling of how everyone is fencing that day. All the bouts are about 5 points. The pools are distributed so that the players, with the lettered rank, are evenly split among the lower ranked and unmarked fencers. After pools, everyone is seeded into a bracket for direct elimination. These bouts are about 15 points. The losers are knocked out, and the winners advance. Since I never played in a tournament before, I had a low ranking. My first opponent I take out without him even landing a hit. Ser Sam is up in the bleachers, and he's cheering me louder than he realizes. It's more obnoxious than enthusiastic, and really cringe-worthy, cause he's pretty much the only person cheering. He yells encouragements the whole time like,
"Go get him, Lady Saber!"
and
"Yeah, that's my girl!"
The pattern is the same for the next 4 bouts. It's almost as helpful as a back pocket on a shirt. Finally, the pools are finished. There is some downtime between pools and direct eliminations, while the referees turn the score sheets and everyone is seated. Ser Sam takes his chance to woo my lady. He approaches me looking overly excited, with his fedora in one hand and waving it like a slimy, wriggling fish.
You fence really well, Lady Saber.
Thanks, Sam.
You know, John wasn't cheering for you the whole time. You probably didn't notice, but I was doing it the whole time.
That's because I told him not to, because it's annoying, especially when you're competing.
I asked John not to, and, yeah, I heard. It's usually best not to. It's very distracting.
Sam looks dejected for the moment, before getting visibly mad.
I was just trying to help. You don't have to be so rude about it. I didn't have to stay here all day for you. I just wanted to be nice, you know?
I wish I had a pocket full of cookies to give him, for him being such a nice guy. After enduring this tirade of supreme kindness, it's time for direct eliminations. I'm seated well, so my first few matches are easy. Ser Sam, of course, takes his seat behind me, and he moves seats between bouts, after crossing the room to be constantly sitting behind me, and he cheers with all the gusto of a squealing piglet. I never quite find a rhythm, and I lose the final bout, taking a silver medal and earning a rank of E. Ser Sam is totally thrilled. I don't think he's ever felt more responsible for someone else's victory than in this moment. He shambles toward me going for a hug, which I turn into a handshake, quickly reconsider, and then turn to a fist bump. He shakes his fist vigorously. Keep in mind that I am standing for a medal photo with the other 3 medalists, while all their friends, families, and coaches are taking pictures. The results is a photobomb of Hiroshima proportions, which I would post here in a heartbeat if it didn't involve revealing both our faces. Sam realizes that he made a no-no when he turns to see a flanks of camera phones waiting for his swift exodus. He tries to play it off, removing his fedora in a sweeping bow like, "Hey, I'm a medalist too. Haha, look, I'm with a medal winner in the picture. So funny." He has a cartoonish nervous smile pasted on, which is quickly wiped away as the crowd starts to jeer him out of the shot. He tries to walk away with his pride. He keeps his distance while I remove my uniform and pack up to leave. As I head for the door though, I am intercepted by Sam, much in the way that an actual SAM might intercept a jumbo jet full of orphans.
Lady Saber, can I ask you a favor?
Can I refuse?
What is it, Sam?
Well, I need a ride home.
What do you mean? Isn't your mom going to come and pick you up?
Or are you tired of having her get up into your business?
She dropped me off, but I didn't know what time she could pick me up. Oh, I was hoping that you could give me a ride.
Ah, very clever, Sam. A very clever ploy indeed. Only a master strategist like yourself could conjure up such a flawless plan to spend time with my lady.
Sorry, Sam, but my car only has room for John and me.
Well, how am I supposed to get home then?
I don't know, but I can't really help you.
Okay, fine. I guess I'm not deserving of a simple ride home.
What?
Sam, I just told you there isn't enough room in...
Whatever. Can I at least have your phone so I can call my mom?
I gave him my phone and he makes an exasperated call home. I'm listening to the one-sided dialogue and it sounds like he told his mom in advance that I'd be taking him home. He hangs up and he gives me my phone back with an addition of sweat crust. And he stalks off without another word. John and my host mother and I pile into the car and make our drive home. But don't worry, that is not the last time I've seen or heard of him.
Story number 4. Sir Sam calls a friend.
Well, on to another adventure with Ser Sam the Chivalrous. Let's introduce the characters. Player 1, me, Lady Saber, 16, foreign exchange student, going through some stress about midterm exams before Christmas break. Also, I'm a very light sleeper. Player number 2, Ser Sam the Chivalrous. All around Beatus beard. Smells like putrid pasta sauce, because he probably bathes in it. While I have no in-person contact with Ser Sam in this story, I imagine that he wears all of his fedoras at once, while using his phone to boost his chivalry level. This story spans most of the exam week, beginning the night of Sam's first fencing tournament, and ending the following Thursday. It's Saturday night. I've gotten home from my tournament, showered, had dinner, and gotten into bed. I feel good, finally able to relish in my victory and peace. I fell asleep quickly, around 11 o'clock or so. As mentioned above, I'm a light sleeper. I often wake up at bumps and noises at night, or even loud noises in my dream. Staring around for 15 seconds, I go right back to sleep. Tonight, I woke up to a buzzing on my phone. There was a new text from an unknown number. It's probably spam, so I go back to sleep. Later, more buzzing. Same number. I unlock my phone, squint like an Asian in the Caribbean against the brightness, and fumble to the new text.
Hi, what's up? Can't sleep. How are you?
It's 12:30 a.m. What the heck? I take the bait and I respond.
What is it? Seriously, it's like 1 a.m.
Well, hello to you too, Lady Saber. Can't believe you don't know who this is, though.
Tell me who this is or I'm blocking this number.
Okay, chill. It's Sam.
That's all the answer I need. I switch my phone off and I try to go back to sleep again, before getting back up to respond with,
How did you get this number?
Oh, well, I called my mom this afternoon. I accidentally called myself first, so I had your number on my phone and I decided to text you.
smiley face. Dude.
Sam, I have a midterm in world history tomorrow. I need to sleep.
That's cool. I'm studying anatomy.
Winky face. Why do I even try? I turn my phone off and go back to sleep. Yet, like I was in some well-timed nightmare, my phone goes off again shortly thereafter. I try to ignore it, but it keeps going. He's calling me. I silence the call. I go back to a fitful sleep until I get another call. I pick up, probably sounding like a drunk Smeagol.
Hello?
Hey, Lady Saber.
Sam?
Hi, yeah. I'm sorry. I can't sleep.
Hey, what a coincidence. Me neither. We must be soulmates or something.
Sam, I have a test tomorrow. What do you want?
Nothing. Just thought you'd like someone to talk to. Did you get home safe this afternoon?
I know someone who won't be very safe going home.
Yeah, fine. I need sleep.
I end the call and look at the clock. It's 4:30. Have to be up in like an hour. I don't dare to switch my phone to Do Not Disturb mode, or else I'll miss the wake-up alarm. The texts come trickling in. I feel like crying or screaming, or just laughing hysterically. I can't go back to sleep, so I stare at the ceiling for an hour, while my phone buzzes like it's on a cocaine high. I eventually drag myself out of bed, and I try in vain to cover the bags under my eyes. I do mediocre on my test, coming very close to dropping a letter grade in class. The next night, the same thing. I have a dozen new texts coming in every few hours. Some are short messages, and some are the beginning of an academic paper. I get a lot of picture messages, random funny memes, and rage comics, as well as pictures of the final score of his Call of Duty matches. They seem to pick up at night too, like he draws energy from gallons of Monster, and streaming gigabytes of Sasha Grey and Asa Akira. I am not sleeping a wink. My eating is off. I have manic burst of energy followed by hours of uselessness. On Tuesday night, I turned my phone all the way off. I slept through what would have been my alarm. My host family tries to get me out of bed. They don't know about this whole event, so I break down and spill the Cheetos. I end up sleeping a full 12 hours that day, and then another 4-hour nap that afternoon. My host mother buys me an alarm clock so that I can leave my phone off the next night. Because I missed an exam, I have to go in on Friday to do a makeup, pushing the family's vacation back one day. I'm really mad. This continues for 4 days. I think this is because he's never actually had a real milady to text, so he's gonna take this opportunity and run with it, like a Tumblr user with a new gender identity. Suddenly, those years of beard, straight white boy, and beatus all come pouring out in a slurry of carbonated cheesy meat sauce. It is a horrifyingly beautiful slow motion train wreck, which is why it takes me so long to tear myself away. I finally block Sam's number Wednesday afternoon. He figures this out, however, and he starts texting me from a different number. At first, he's apologetic, probably because he realized he overdid things a wee bit and is trying to backpedal. Knighthood prevails soon enough, and he starts to ask me about John.
You guys spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, we're pretty good friends.
Oh, just friends.
Yes, Sam.
So I see I'm not the only one that fell victim to the friend zone then.
I have no idea how to respond to this, so I just wait. It doesn't take long.
Indeed. Well, I really just think that John only pays attention to you because of how much makeup you wear and the way that you dress. If you really want to find someone that can respect you and treat you like a lady, you should present yourself that way, and the right guy will find you.
Dress for the relationship I want, right? Okay. Have you had any Orakai proposition, you Sam?
Plus, John doesn't really dress like he has any class either.
John wears really nice jeans and muscle tees like a normal hot person. Sam speaks from experience, naturally, having as much class as a Marxist utopia. I'm pretty done hearing about how gross I am for trying to make myself look good. So I silence my phone and finally get a full night's rest. Ser Sam walks back to his last tirade in a series of pitiful messages that I can't even bring myself to quote for the cringe pain. This Friday, I show up and make up my last exam. I should have known that I couldn't make it out of this week without encountering the obese, but hold on to your nachos because it's the next story.
Story number 5, Gift of a Beard.
This will be the 5th installment of Chivalrous Sam. Trigger warning, pasta and extra cringe. Player number 1, Lady Saber. 16 years old, foreign exchange student. I just finished most of my midterms, barely, especially with Sam's help. By help, I mean by keeping me up all hours of the night, with all those creepy messages. Also, I'm looking forward to the week off, because we're gonna have Christmas, and we're gonna be experiencing the holidays American style. Player number 2, Ser Sam Smooth Cheeks. The pure and gentle knight. He smells like a vile mix of fermenting sweat and the spaghetti of Satan. He's also fat, and there's no way to sugarcoat it without it being eaten too. He wears a plaid trilby, different one almost every time I see him. I still have no idea how many he has. Whitewashed jeans, rage face t-shirts, under a nondescript black hoodie, carrying a snowbank of drift on each shoulder. Also, despite his girth, he has a squill of a voice that's almost indistinguishable from a piglet. Player number 3, John. I'm crushing on him, and he's in a few of my classes. He wears jeans, a t-shirt, and an American Eagle hoodie. He also has a leather belt with an oversized shiny buckle. He and Sam have had a few minor run-ins, and they don't like each other one bit. Watching them face off is usually cartoonish. He also speaks passable French. This story begins Friday morning. It's the last day of exam week, which makes it makeup day, so a lot of people aren't there. But after the 2-hour morning exam session, the rest of the day is made up of Christmas parties and Secret Santas. John is my Secret Santa in English class. I guess that was by luck of the draw. It's mostly a bunch of inside joke stuff, and he also included a little thing of eyeshadow and blush. just for Sam. Interestingly though, the colors actually match for me. I don't know how long he must have spent trying to pick them out, but it's really sweet. Around lunchtime, I get a new text from Sam.
Got a present for you. Let me know when I can give it.
Oh boy, I can't wait.
What is it, Sam?
I'm pretty sure the surprise will spoil the surprise too.
I can't tell you. It's a surprise. I can't give it to you at school, though maybe after.
So you're giving me something that you aren't allowed to carry on school grounds. Great.
If you aren't allowed to have it at school, I don't think it's something I want, Sam.
No, trust me, you'll like it.
We go around and around like this for a little while, before I give up and ignore his teaser messages like,
Bet you can't wait to have it in your hands.
and my personal favorite is,
It's long and stiff. Just kidding, just kidding.
winky face, just as subtle as a sledgehammer. My mind is spinning for the rest of the day, running through the list of possible gifts. Is it a pleasure toy? A 5-gallon drum of meat sauce? Maybe a blade of Valerian steel? All are equally plausible. Fast forward to the end of the day. I'm filing to the bus loop with the rest of the school when I'm intercepted by Sam.
Hey, Lady Saber. Merry Christmas. You look enchanting today.
Thank you, Sam. You too.
Oh, I meant to say Merry Christmas to you too. Well, that's what I get for not thinking. He's carrying a long tube in one hand, wrapped haphazardly in Christmas paper, like Santa's homeless cousin. A blue bow is dangling from the side. It makes a fedorable picture. In the other hand, a foot-long hot dog, which is at the mercy of the black hole that functions as his mouth. Mustard, ketchup, and chili dribble, while the meat stick vanishes at an alarming pace.
I got you a present, Lady Saber.
Hot dog goes in, chunks come out. You can't explain that.
I see. Are you gonna tell me what it is?
I can't do that. It's a present.
He is squeaking in delight. I assume that he makes the same noise when his mom brings him home a can of SpaghettiOs.
Sam, if I'm not supposed to have it at school, I really don't want to open it here.
We're at the bus loop now. I'm anxious to find mine and bug out. Sam presses on uninhibited. He thrusts the package into my arms, like a squealing baby. Ironic, given the circumstances.
For my lady.
Is some kind of hollow tube, something definitely long and stiff, which bumps around on the inside when I give it a rattle. Sam looks like he's about to jump out of his skin. This is embarrassing. People are looking. Sam is in his own little world with my lady. I'm not tearing all of the paper off, so I just poke a hole in the end. I can't see inside. It's dark. I'm scared. I imagine the scene from Indiana Jones when their faces melt off. I felt like I might be facing a similar fate. I grip my teeth and reach in. My fingers find metal, and then something like soft leather. The shape is very familiar. I grasp, and then I pull. No way. I drew out a bell guard, in the first 6 inches of a saber. On the pommel is the brand for Leon Paul, which is Cadillac-level fencing gear, especially custom-made weapons. This one feels exceptionally lightweight. I'm totally floored. The amount of research to figure out exactly what was good, especially if you don't fence, must have taken an enormous amount of time. In one of their weapons, it could easily cost over 100 British pounds. I can actually give him a genuine smile.
Thank you, Sam. This is fabulous.
It's clear that he wants to stay and talk, but I have to go to find my bus. I double dodge his attempt to hug, and I narrowly escape with a fist bump. If only it was that easy. My bus had changed today, and I missed the announcement at the end of the class. I walked up and down the loop, looking for my bus number, and failing to find it. They start pulling away, one by one, and I realize too late that there's been a change. I try to give my host brother a call, but he doesn't pick up. Eventually, I'm stranded at the loop with several stragglers. Sam has wandered off, like a lion that missed his first rush at his prey. I know that John carpools with his dad, so I message him, asking if my dumb butt can get a ride home. I head up to the parking lot where his parents pull through, and I meet up with them. What's in the tube?
Sam's present. He pulled out all the stops on a new saber.
I drew it out a little bit to show him. Dang, really? That must have been expensive. We had a lot of time to sit around while John's dad shows up, so we perch ourselves on the brick wall next to the sidewalk. Soon enough, Sam approaches like a tornado in a trailer park, hailing me with that full arm wave. John and I are sitting, so Sam takes the moment to revel in his ability to tower over us. He is still eating. This time, it's a Tupperware container full of ravioli. Jesus, does it end?
Hey, Lady Saber, why are you up here? I thought you rode the bus.
Oh, I missed my bus. It changed.
Hey, you know, I can give you a ride home. My mom will be here any second.
It's okay, Sam. John is giving me a ride.
Sam gives John a sidelong glance, one that lasts a little too long. I can tell that this irritates John, so I try to diffuse the situation by asking John to find out where his dad is, which keeps him busy enough to cool down.
My mom will be here real soon, Lady Saber. I've got space in our car. It's no big deal.
That's okay, Sam. I'm riding with John.
Lady Saber, I don't have to offer you a ride. Hey, I bet you John just wants to get some alone time with you.
Yeah, cause having your parents in the front seat, it makes a perfect makeout environment. He says this like it's a joke, but he's the only one forcing laughter. John has had enough. He rises to his full height. Then he looks down at Sam. She told you no twice. Back off, Sam. They both inflate like pufferfish. I might have laughed if I wasn't so afraid of them tearing into each other. Thankfully, this only lasted a tense 30 seconds. This was when Sam's ride pulls up. He makes no move to leave until his mom rolls down the window and yells,
Sam! Sam!
He turns his agitation to his mom.
What?
What do you mean, what? Get in the car, Sam!
I'm busy, Mom.
What on earth with? Sam, we have to go.
Lady Saber won't come with. She needs a ride.
Well, it's not gonna be with you, apparently.
Sam deflates like he's had a gastric bypass, and a bunch of other people in the carpool line are staring. He shoulders his book bag, and he carries his still open pasta bowl into the back seat of his car. Mrs. Sam gives me a look before pulling away. Naturally, Sam manages to screw this up further. As soon as I'm in the car with John, he starts texting me.
Hey, I'm glad you like your present. I told you would. What did John get you?
All aboard the cringe train.
He's my secret Santa in English. He just got me some funny stuff that we like to joke about.
Oh, okay. But not like a real gift or anything.
I decide to have a little fun. John is sitting next to me, so he's reading too, and he eggs me on.
He got me some makeup.
And like a drunken streaker at a football game, Sam's off.
Seriously? He got you makeup? That's like the worst thing you could ever get for a girl. It's like just saying, you're not actually pretty enough, so put this on. Why do you even put up with someone like that who clearly has no respect for you?
This continues for what might have constituted a 5-paragraph essay, and is gaining speed and losing altitude with each subsequent message. John and I are killing ourselves laughing. Finally, Sam finishes, and there's a pause like he's not quite sure what to do. I don't reply, until he follows up with,
Anyways, what's up?
Smiley face. That makes me lose it.
Sam, I'm going to involve myself with other people. You might not like some of them, but who I associate with is not any of your business. If you can't deal with that, then you don't need to talk to me anymore.
He doesn't reply for a while. I'm at home when he responds with,
Fine. If you're gonna be that way, I want my saber back.
Keeping it classy like a true gentleman, Milady is unmoved. Ser Sam keeps his distance over the Christmas break, instead opting to post ambiguously about me on Facebook. The first post is something along the lines of,
Breakups are hard.
I wish I was kidding.
Story number 6, The Post of a Beard.
This will be the 6th installment of Ser Sam the Chivalrous, and it spans most of the Christmas break. Player 1, me, Lady Saber, 16 years old, foreign exchange student from Belgium, and exam week is finally over, so I'm enjoying the holiday out of town. I am also a huge fan of A Song of Ice and Fire, and also Lord of the Rings nerd. Player number 2, Ser Sam the Chivalrous, smooth cheeks. He's the whitest knight of all. Generally a lard, ever-present aroma of stale Italian food. Never removes his trilby because he never sleeps or never showers. Sam also has the Facebook habits of someone with an eating disorder. I have no other notion of how to describe it. He'll make 4, 5, 6 posts in rapid succession, ranging from atheism to look what kind of nice guy I am, and general rants designed to flaunt his intelligence. This is part of his binge. After about an hour later, he comes back and purges all of them. 4 out of 5, no matter how long he spent on thesaurus.com writing them. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen, and it's why I'm not able to screen cap most of the stuff he actually posts. Player number 3 is John. He's the guy I'm crushing on. All around good person. We aren't officially dating yet, but is heading in that direction. He is the arch nemesis of Sam. He's not in the story, but he gets a mention. So that's part of the backstory. This story begins immediately after the previous one. It's the day before Christmas break. I check Facebook, mostly keeping up with friends and family overseas, and I see one of Sam's tirades clogging my feed like a cholesterol plaque. Like breaking up with people you aren't dating is hard, and so on. Also, that comment should give you some idea about Sam's dating history. Apparently, in middle school, Sam made up a series of girlfriends in more and more outlandish tales. He'd find some girl on the internet, snag a few of her pictures, and flaunt them around. As soon as a person would start poking holes in his story, he'd break up with her and start over again. Except each time, the girl would get hotter and more amazing, and he'd round more bases with each one of them. Eventually, he claimed he'd gotten laid by some out-of-his-league blonde. Unbeknownst to Sam, that girl happened to live nearby and was in high school just down the road from the middle school. Some people who knew her got in touch, confronted him, with her in tow, and made a spectacle worthy of the Reddit forum public freakouts. Continuing with our tour, if you look to your left, my ladies and gentle sirs, you will see a homemade meme being played with by Sam and his beardy friend.
Check your friend zone.
Reads to me in the same voice of check your privilege. All the posts from the same day, 3 are the only survivor of 18 or so. You thought I was kidding. The next 2 days, radio silence. Then, in the afternoon, a text message. It's a screenshot of What Makes You Beautiful by One Direction.
Not to be weird, this is just a song I like.
Smiley face. I look it up, and I give it a listen. It's poppy and repetitive, so I turned it off after 30 seconds. A few hours later, he follows up with,
What do you think?
It's not my taste.
My taste is mostly screamo and classic orchestra, with a few select American alternative rock bands.
Well, what is your taste?
I forget sometimes that there's no font for sarcasm.
Gospel.
No response, other than a string of Facebook posts, which only 2 survive.
If you go to church, you're literally Satan. If you don't, you're a neckbeard smosh.
Which I have included screenshots. I debate telling him if it was a joke or not, but I dread the outcome of that conversation, and I don't have any idea how it would go. For the rest of the break, silence. I have a blast with my host family. I get more Christmas loot than I know what to do with, and I genuinely enjoy my break from school and Ser Sam. It's after New Year's Day when Sam gathers up enough alpha male energy to message me again. I kept up a strained conversation with him for about a half an hour while he talks about Call of Duty and stuff he got for Christmas. There are many times where I don't know how to respond, but he happily fills in the space and keeps on going. Eventually he asks,
What's wrong?
Nothing really.
You're not saying much.
Yeah, just not in the mood to talk right now.
Oh? What did I do?
Sam, that's a pretty long list.
I know. Sorry. I just haven't really had a girlfriend that I can talk to very much before. So I'm still trying to figure stuff out.
I'm not your girlfriend, Sam.
I know. I mean a friend that's a girl.
Okay, there's a space between friend and girl, so I give him the benefit of the doubt. Before I can further clarify the status of our relationship, he's off in another direction.
So, do you speak French?
Yes.
That's cool. Me too.
Okay, that came out of nowhere, like a clown in a crappy funhouse. I'm a bit skeptical, so I push it gently with him. The following messages are in French, and I've translated.
You speak French?
Yes?
I didn't know that. Why didn't you tell me?
I don't know.
Okay, what are you doing now?
I'm hungry.
Shocker of a lifetime.
I'm being eaten.
What?
You're being eaten?
Yes, I'm being eaten for lunch.
I give up here, because it's pretty clear he's using some translating software online. Rest in peace, my mother tongue. When you translate literally from English to French, in this case, Sam translated I am eating directly, and the result of that will be I am being eaten. At the very least, we can rest assured that this is the most effective weight loss plan ever. Later that day, he follows with,
LOL, I don't really speak French. I'm just messing with you.
I didn't give a reply. None of this, however, was the crown jewel, emboldened by what can only be a vat of homemade ravioli. Thanks, Mom. Sam takes aim.
Hey, a bunch of friends and I are going to see The Hobbit on Saturday after break. Do you want to tag along?
John has beat him to the punch, actually, but I'm not keen to give him that detail.
No thanks, Sam.
Aw, why not?
I don't give a reply. Soon enough, though, he follows up with,
I bet you're going with John, huh?
am I really that transparent? There's no point in lying to him.
Yes, I am.
Okay, I get it. I don't think you'll ever be able to be convinced that he's bad news. But I promise, someday you'll see what I mean.
This isn't exactly a tough bet. Either we break up, or we never become an official couple. At this point, he would win. Otherwise, we get married and live happily ever after. Which I can only hope this is a realistic option. Another cheesy, meaty gorge of academic papers ensue on Facebook, followed by a book-burning level of purge. And this gem is the only survivor. If you make it out of this alphabet soup with all of your brain cells, I commend you. At the time, I really didn't understand why he all have the same pattern of thesaurussing every fifth word in their online post. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I have an inkling. Most neckbeards fancy themselves as being on a higher intellectual plane than everyone else. Yes, most of them have slightly above average intelligence, but nowhere near the genius scale. Despite this, they built an image in their heads of being the brainiest guy in their zip code, so they talk the way they believe an actual smart person would talk. But in actuality, they accomplish far less than everybody else.
Story number 7, a cut above the rest.
Now for the long-awaited sequel to Ser Sam Tries the Sword. Trigger warning, your jimmies will be rustled. Player number 1, Lady Saber, a 16-year-old exchange student from Belgium, very avid fencer. I've been doing it for 10 years. Coupled with my Lord of the Rings and Song of Ice and Fire nerding, I'm a neckbeard smosh. Player number 2 and 3 are my fencing coaches, Mr. and Mrs. Coach. They're a husband and wife couple. They're really fabulous people, super dedicated to the sport. Mr. Coach is a large European mammoth of a man, and he sounds like a thunderstorm. He looks really intimidating, but in actuality, he's a teddy bear in disguise. Mrs. Coach, she's almost as small as I am, but she can still roar like a lion. She tolerates no BS, and is intent on making everyone perform better. Player number 4, Smooth Cheek Ser Sam, the chaste and chivalrous. He's the whitest knight of all, fat, sweaty, and with a high-pitched voice. He has the personality of a nervous Pomeranian, except with more nervous quivering and nervous hate. He wears New Balance sneakers, plus 10 to speed and 5 health, cargo pants, plus 20 to carry. Oh, sorry, babe. Make me a sandwich. T-shirt, and a navy blue trilby with a feather in the band, combined for a plus 35 negging. He also smells like he bathed in Axe chocolate spray cologne, but still unable to mask the scent of rancid meat sauce. A small note about the setting. The short wall on the end of our gym functions as a rack for practice weapons. It's somewhat for show, but the weapons are fully functional, so the people who rent gear can use one. If you haven't read the first story about Ser Sam Tries the Sword, go do that. Seriously, guys. Stuff that I talk about here will make a lot more sense. This story takes place a week after Christmas break, on a Wednesday afternoon. School is back in session, as is fencing practice. I received a very nice fencing glove from my host family, so I'm intent on practicing with it. I have the same setup going with my looks as described in the previous story. No makeup, hair tightly wrapped up out of the way, workout clothes for a -10 attractive stat. Funny thing, Sam hasn't once told me.
You look naturally beautiful this way.
Like he's always relentlessly plugging, I arrive an hour before practice, earlier than usual. Instead of running in the freezing cold rain, I'm in the gym, putting Mrs. Coach to shame on the leg machine. We each take turns, upping each other until it gets close to practice time. Mr. and Mrs. Coach go to set up, and I cool down with a short walk indoors and a drink of water. Ser Sam doesn't show up for warm-ups. Wednesday is the one day of the week that he signed up for practice, but I'm not surprised that he's avoiding me, or has just realized that copycatting my interest won't score many points. I'm not complaining. I get into my zone, and I have a lot of fun. Instead of conditioning warm-ups, we play dodgeball, and I'm about as unstoppable as a smitten neckbeard's affections. We're suiting up for drills when Ser Sam arrives, about as welcome as a fire marshal at a dorm party. His hair is so greasy that rain is just beating up on top of it. About half of our class are girls, so they're eyeing him with venom. Sam is oblivious, but senses a bit of awkwardness in the air. He tries to break the tension with some light humor.
Here I am. I just showed up for the fun part.
The coaches hate when people do this. It's impossible to actually improve your form when all you want to do is show up for the last 45 minutes of swinging a sword around. They won't get on your case for this, of course, because you've paid for the full lesson. And if you continue to stink and you keep coming back for more, they'll let you. Mrs. Coach doesn't want to get near Sam, so Mr. Coach takes him to get rental gear. Mrs. Coach is explaining the drill to us when they both return. The Saber group is an odd number again, so I sit the first round out, dressed in my uniform with my mask off. Mrs. Coach asked Sam why he skipped out on warm-ups today, and this was Sam's excuse.
Well, last time the warm-ups made me really tired, so I couldn't free fence hardly at all.
Yes, that's the idea. If you keep doing them, eventually you won't be so tired and...
But if I'm exhausted, I can't practice the actual fencing though. It's annoying, because I want to do better at sword fighting, not doing lunges and footwork.
Well, lunges and footwork are only 80% of fencing anyway. Who needs it?
Okay, Sam, let's get you warmed up before you do drills. Give me 2 sets of advances and retreat.
What? I'm already in my uniform though.
Good, it will help you warm up faster.
Mrs. Coach has no patience for lazy people. I can tell she's straining.
But I had asthma as a kid. If I get too hot, I can have trouble breathing. And I haven't had an inhaler or breathing treatment forever. I don't think it's safe.
Sam, a few sets of footwork won't kill you. I've got to teach drills, so let's go, okay?
Game on point as usual, Mrs. Coach. Sam is a little miffed at Mrs. Coach that she has no concern for his well-being.
I'm the one paying you, so technically, I should be the one in charge. And I came here to fence, not do some stupid drill.
Mrs. Coach is 2 inches from snapping, so she gives it up.
You're right, Sam. Grab a practice foil and jump in with your group.
She turns on her heel and goes to instruct others. Sam is smirking like he just won a free pizza for outwitting a fundamentalist Christian. He swaggers to the wall of practice weapons and is drawn to the sabers. I'm standing directly behind him to his right, watching out in the corner of my eye. He wraps his sausage fingers around the handle and he draws it out of the rack. He's holding it with a 2-handed death grip. Nowhere near how you're actually supposed to hold a saber. I can see his imagination wearing away. Ser Sam is a Japanese samurai warrior in the midst of an epic battle. He takes a small downcut to split his midget opponent in half. Dang it, no one sees that it's totally epic. His next challenger is cut in half through the middle by a slow motion side stroke. There's an enemy behind him, so he spins with the force of a great typhoon to decapitate his foe with one fell swoop. Unfortunately, he doesn't see my lady standing in the line of fire. It happens fast. I see the blade coming down towards me, getting bigger and bigger. I try to turn away, lean under the cut, but the weapon connects with the side of my face. There are two things I remember most about the impact. One is a sickening crunch, and the second is a blade dragging through my skin, scraping against bone as Sam pulls away. To call a saber, or any fencing weapon, blunt as a butter knife, would be an understatement to the sharpness. It's nothing more than a rounded piece of iron with a flattened tip. However, if you take two pieces of iron and bang them together more than 1,000 times, they'll get some ragged edges, not to mention hundreds of tiny magnetized shavings clinging on for dear life. My memory is a little bit fuzzy after the hit. Everything runs together in a slurry of Mountain Dew and meat sauce. I got to ride in an ambulance. That was fun. I remember laughing because the siren sounded weird. It's clear again when I wake up in a hospital bed. There's gauze over both eyes with little pinpricks in the center so I can see out of. The TV is terrible, even if I could see the whole screen. Like some sick joke, My Little Pony is the only show that comes in 100% clear. The rest is crappy reality TV, local news, and soap opera reruns. All told, it's an impressive list of injuries. I took a fracture on the outside of my eye socket, had a 3rd-degree lateral concussion, my brain went ping-pong from side to side. The laceration that was caused by the saber needed stitches. The weapon itself scratched my cornea and left more than a dozen fragments behind my skin, and a few in my eye. Some came out with a magnet, and the others had to be picked out. They put me under for this, as a number of those fragments were trapped under my eyelids. I spent the night in the hospital after getting hit. Once it was clear, I didn't have any permanent brain damage or swelling, so I went home the next morning. I was on some wicked strong painkillers for the next few days. My face from my cheek to my temple swelled up, and it throbbed for the rest of the week. I avoided mirrors for a long time. Ser Sam sent me flowers. I didn't read the card, but I wish I had. I'm sure it would have been great material. Additionally, even though what he did was an accident, Mr. and Mrs. Coach knew that I could have easily sued the pants off of them and disallowed Sam from fencing at their club anymore. Sam, or at least Sam's mom, had to pay to replace my fencing jacket, underarm protector, and lame, about $500 worth of gear. Both the lame and jacket were covered in blood and compromising the electrical components of the lame. EMS cut the underarm protector with shears. The cut scarred. It started out as thick as a thumb, bright pink, and run from the corner of my eye to the middle of my temple. It's receded a lot since then, faded to pale white, but it's not going away any further. I spent a long time being ridiculously self-conscious about it. Now I think it looks pretty awesome, but it took me a while to get there. I know the story was more feels than funny, but squeezing humor into this one felt like I was forcing Cheese Whiz back into the tube. So I cut the awkward cringy stuff out. Now next in the series, Ser Sam tries out feminism, but we'll cover that next time.
Story number 8. Ser Sam tries feminism.
Trigger warning, whale of a tale. Today's tale will be Ser Sam tries feminism. Hello everybody, it's Lady Saber, back with another installment of Ser Sam. This story takes place the week after Ser Sam put me in the ER. Here again, player number 1, Lady Saber, 16 years old, foreign exchange student from Belgium. I'm on some pretty intense painkillers, so I'm high as a kite. Thankfully, I'm a happy albeit emotional drunk. The swelling in my face has gone down considerably, and the color has faded from a dark purple to yellows and greens. The cut itself is very visible and angry red, with the stitches still intact. I've laid it on thick with foundation and concealer, as much as possible that is, with some crazy eyeliner and shadow colors to draw away attention, as well as wearing my hair forward instead of pulling it back. As a note, I'm really into strategy games, chest and go being my favorites. Player 2, Ser Sam, the chaste and chivalrous, the whitest knight in all the land, the inconsiderate meat planet, with no tolerance for rejection. He wears New Balance sneakers, mid-calf socks, baggy light-wash jeans, and a stained t-shirt that says, "This is what feminists look like," under a fluffy bubble coat. Thanks, Mom. And instead of spaghetti sauce, Ser Sam reeks of Axe body spray, chocolate scented. I can't imagine anything else but him seeing this commercial and thinking that's how it works in real life. He doesn't shower, but he thinks, hey, the Axe body spray is a fine substitute. Right? Oh, and I almost forgot. The Trilby. How could I forget it? It's atrocious, as usual. Plain felt gray, with a black band. Player number 3, John. He's the guy I'm crushing on. He shares my English class. He's outdoorsy, athletic, and he takes no BS. And is actually above average in intelligence. He's great at coming up with creative insults. He and Sam are arch nemesis. He wears bootylicious jeans, a leather belt with a shiny buckle, a Venture Crew t-shirt, and an American Eagle hoodie. John and I have a way of speaking to each other, which sounds horrifying to anyone else. We call each other nasty names as a form of endearment, like,
What's up, bitch?
nothing much, you dumb If anyone else talked to me that way, I would probably lose it with them. But for John and I, it's a thing. Player number 4, my English teacher. Mr. Teacher, pretty minor character. He's a tall guy. He has a lot of fun with his job. He usually wears a shirt with a tie and nice pants. And he's got a lighthearted demeanor. John and I have gotten pretty fed up with the neckbeard atmosphere at the chess club. So we decided to found our own club, one in which we play Go. My teacher, Mr. Teacher, as it happened, was a pretty big fan of Go. So he agreed to be the sponsor and to host the club a few times a week. To drum up some interest, we made some signs and posted them around school, as well as making announcements in class. I did not know this until Monday, but one of the English teachers who taught standard level English walked out of her job at the middle of the week, apparently sick of the school system. The affected English classes were being spread around until a replacement could be found. Guess which good sir ended up in my class? Lunchtime rolls around, and it's Monday, the opening day for the Go Club. It's fun time. About a dozen people show up. Only Mr. Teacher actually has a Go set, with the board and stones. For the rest, we had printed up paper boards, with black and white M&Ms for pieces. There's a bunch of sheet with rules, and Mr. Teacher and I are helping people who's trying to learn. So John pairs off with someone else, and I'll wait for Mr. Teacher to do something on the computer before we start the game. Right on cue, guess who? Ser Sam swaggers in like a drunk circus monkey. He doesn't see me at first, being that he's on the other side of the room. He says hello to Mr. Teacher. I hunker down to avoid being spotted, and lo and behold, Sir Oinkle sniffs me out like a truffle. He bumbles his way across the room, bonking tables and rubbing against other people all the way. He's carrying half an empty 2-liter bottle of Diet Dr. Pepper. Before I knew it, he's hovering over me like a Black Hawk in Somalia. I'm greeted with the tip of the trilby.
Hey, Lady Saber! Glad to see you're back. I saw the announcement for this club and I figured no one else but you could be behind it. Want to play a game? By the way, you look a lot better today.
And the backhandedest compliment ever award goes to... Sam plops into the chair in front of me, and it squeaks in agony. I should have left right then. Maybe told Ser Sam I was waiting for someone. I would have, if I hadn't been so dang stoned. My brain wasn't looking for a way out of the situation. It was just saying, "Alright girl, let's put on those seatbelts and do this thing." Thanks, brain. Sam gives me an oblivious smile. He makes a pretty good show of removing his jacket and showcasing his feminist shirt in all of its glory. For Dawkins' sake, it's got a light-colored stain on the hem. He opens up his lunch bag and sets out a buffet. Chicken salad, tuna salad, a thing of chips, and some more ravioli. The eruption of smell is on a nuclear level. People start asking, "What is that?" And Sam proudly obliges his fully loaded spork. He starts shoveling it into his mouth, like it's a freshly dug grave. I'm about to play as black when he sets a piece down as white.
Sam, black goes first.
Nuh-uh. It's just like chess. White goes first.
I am not in the mood to argue with someone who is so smart and who clearly knows everything there is to know about the game. So I let him make up his own rules for the game as we go along. He takes a swig from his bottle, and he backwashes half of it, and he rips a belch that would put anyone to shame. It turns most heads in the room, and Sam thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. He giggles like a small child, and he scarfs down a few M&Ms. John sees I'm in trouble, and stands to intervene. If something goes south on the first day, though, I doubt anyone would want to come again. John and Sam make eye contact, and I ward off John with a shake of my head. Sam smirks at John, like he's the one who stared him down, and stares at me with one arm draped over the back of his seat, and a soda in one hand. He thinks he looks cool, but he looks like an alcoholic.
You know, John isn't a feminist.
Do you always begin conversations this way?
I was recently introduced to The Princess Bride, so I shamelessly make references.
Not really, I guess. Well, I've been reading a lot about feminism lately, about how women should be empowered to make their own choices about and John isn't really the kind of guy who'd be a feminist. He'll just, go up and put his arms around you without your consent. I think it's pretty messed up.
Sam sounds like an 11-year-old on Xbox Live, and it physically hurts me to listen. He goes on to the chips now, and barbecue-flavored dust is building up in dull orange snowdrifts. Crumbs are now accumulating on his lips, just like the crust on a creme brulee. Now, I'm not the kind of person who'd like to be asked, "Is this okay? May I hold your hand?" or anything like that, but I like someone who can read signals of approval or disapproval and handles the situation with confidence. I'm laughing at your joke? Alright, I see you're touching my elbow. I'll touch your elbow too. Yeah, I'm cool with your arm around my waist. Whoa, okay, that hand's going a bit low. Notice how I'm shrugging my hips? Yeah, there you go. Stay right there. This is how people actually communicate, not by narrating every physical action they do, or begging for approval or pardon. His whole image is so comical and ridiculous, I can't help but giggle like an idiot. I didn't want to, but I couldn't help myself.
Inconceivable.
I reply, in my drug-addled lilting voice. That's funny too. So I go into another fit of giggles. Sam takes my actions as genuine interest. Not that I can really blame him. He powers through it like a second plate of mashed potatoes, clearly impressed that I can analog with his extraordinary lexicon.
I know, right? I really hate how the patriarchy forces women to uphold unrealistic beauty standards. Stupid stuff like makeup and heels. I think it would be great if everyone could just liberate themselves from double standards. I don't still get why you feel like you have to wear so much makeup. Honestly, you look just as good without it.
For half of this time, his eyes were drifting up the cut on my face. It's making me feel really self-conscious, so I turn my head to hide it, almost to the extent that I'm looking directly away from him.
I don't think things like blemishes, cuts, or scars and stretch marks need to be covered up. Honestly, most of the stuff is pretty sexy.
He wipes his hands on his shirt, leaving orange tiger stripes for +5 melee combat strength. This pushes me in the opposite direction of giggles. My throat catches, and I can feel tears welling up. I excuse myself, and I run to the bathroom. I spend about 10 minutes crying. I do come back, but not to Sam's game. Instead, I slide a chair up next to John, so I can get my much-needed hug. We stay this way the rest of lunch, with Sam eyeing us disdainfully from across the room. When the bell rings, Sam makes his valiant approach, so he can rescue Milady from the patriarchy.
Hey, Lady Saber, are you okay? If I hurt your feelings, I didn't...
John cuts him off. F*** off, Sam.
I wasn't speaking to you, John. I was talking to...
Lady Saber doesn't want to talk to you. F*** off.
I think the lady can speak for...
Last chance, Sam. Sam puts his hands up in mocking defensiveness and backpedals.
Okay then, just trying to help. At least I'm not this guy, right?
He tips his hat and excuses himself with a,
"Good day, my lady."
This is not the end. Overnight, I managed to develop a shiner as some of the blood from the side of my face pulls near my eye. Makeup saves the day, but it's not totally hidden. After school, Sam hovers nearby like there's a ribbon cutting at the new Neckbeards, while John and I are talking by the nearby bus loop. John, in his usual fashion, tells me, "Well, you're a fabulous muffin, and my great white whale champion is close enough at hand to defend my lady's honor.
What did you just call Lady Saber?
John gives him a quizzical look. I turn to Sam.
It's fine, he didn't mean it like.
Holy shit, Lady Saber. Is that a black eye?
Entirely too loud. People all around are looking at us, like we're from the zoo.
Jesus Christ, John. Did you f***ing hit her?
No, John replies. My French instincts kicks in as I retreat to his side.
Oh, sure. Deny it all you want, but I can see that bruise.
Sam, Lady Saber has a bruise because you hit her in the face with a piece of metal. You heroically stupid c***. He didn't have much to answer for that, so he derails the train wreck further.
Why do you use the word c*** like it's an insult? You know, female body parts aren't inferior, John. And I'm sure others would agree that sexist language isn't very becoming. Not that someone who isn't a gentleman would understand.
Whatever you say, delusional rocket. John gives Sam a sweeping bow before turning his back and boxing him out. Sam skulks off.
Why can't my lady just appreciate my concern for her well-being?
He texts me later.
Hey, I understand how hard it is to be in an abusive relationship like that, but I'm here if you need someone to talk to.
I'm not in an abusive relationship.
Okay, if you say so, but the offer still stands, LOL.
Sam, you need to stop forcing yourself between me and John.
That evening, John and I make ourselves Facebook official. There's no reply from the buttery front, except for a cascade of Facebook posts. And yes, like usual, he deletes most of them. John and I cut school the next morning, so we could go see The Hobbit. You need a break from that fart. So eloquent. We go to lunch, and we spend the afternoon shopping. I, like most European exchange students, went nuts buying cheap clothes in American department stores. Sam does not miss the opportunity to text me.
He's clearly a bad influence on your education.
Thanks a lot, Dad. Following the day at school, I'm looking ferocious in my leather biker jacket with a white tank underneath, dark wash jeans, and boot heels. In English, we're working in the computer lab, and Sam gets assigned to sit near me. He's still snacking and chugging a huge bottle of Coke. Despite the no eating or drinking rule, the poor sap between us can't stop Sam from crawling over him, leaning over his keyboard, and getting in the way, just to blather on about.
It's so great to see that you're destroying the gender binary by wearing androgynous clothing.
Eventually, the guy between us gets tired of cringing.
Dude, shut up.
Sam retreats to his place, but that doesn't stop him talking or stuffing his face for a second. He goes full fat logic, telling me around multiple mouthfuls about how,
99% of people's body types are totally genetic no matter what. I mean, we're all fat when we're born anyways.
That may be true, but I don't think I've ever met someone who was born a gorillasaurus.
Like, I bet you'd be a lot better off if you just ate more.
He finishes with a satisfied chuckle and a fistful of cheese puffs. Now, I eat around 3,000 calories a day, and I maintain a workout schedule. And that's mostly vegetables and real food, full of stuff that the body wants, not neon green or orange packaged garbage.
If people's body types are genetic, then why is hating on skinny girls okay?
My ladying intensifies.
I'm not hating. I mean, plus, you can just eat more.
Yeah, you can always just exercise more too.
Plus 500 experience points. My lady levels up.
Gosh, Lady Saber, I had no idea that you were so body negative. Some people have medical conditions like asthma and heart disease, so they can't exercise no matter what. Plus your body type is determined at birth, so you can't change it. I have asthma, so are you blaming my genes?
No one, asthma or otherwise, should be able to breathe that much food into their face hole. I defuse the cringe bomb though, and I let him off with a,
"You're right."
He turns away with a satisfied smirk, having clearly bested my lady in a duel of wits. To this day, I do not know from where this feminism charade sprouted from. I'm assuming he thought it was a great ploy to get him laid.
Story number 9, The Dawkin Crusader.
Hi everyone, it's Lady Saber, back with another installment of Ser Sam. This story takes place after the previous, but somewhat in tandem with Ser Sam's feminism streak, so let's introduce the characters. Player 1, Lady Saber, still recovering from my face bashing incident, but doing much better. The coloration has normalized significantly, and I'm slowly coming off of painkillers. The cut itself is closing enough, although it's still very noticeable. Player 2, Ser Sam, smooth cheeks, the chaste and chivalrous knight, enormous butter parade, socially impotent, with a terminal diagnosis of nice guy syndrome, wears New Balance, baggy jeans, wide-brimmed brown fedora, and a corduroy jacket, smells like he bathes and brushes his teeth in spaghetti sauce, thickly veiled with Axe chocolate body spray. He's also a militant atheist, sent to Earth by Dawkins himself, to enlighten the world with his own intelligence. This story takes place at Go Club. There's about 15 people there today, all playing with black and white M&Ms. After helping some of the new members set up, I sit down to eat my lunch, well ensconced in the back corner of the room. Everyone's favorite cringe factory shows up late. The door of the room is locked, so he grabs the handle and throttles it like a newborn child, jerking back and forth, pushing his face against the tiny slit of glass. You'd think a horde of zombies was behind him, like the fast kind too, the ones from World War Z movie. Those suckers are scary. Mr. Teacher is visibly annoyed, and he reluctantly gets up from his desk so as to open the door for Ser Sam. This human hippo saunters in and acknowledges Mr. Teacher with a tip of his hat before scanning the room. He spots me quickly and moves in my direction, much in the way that a derailed freight train might move towards a children's cancer clinic. Tables are bumped.
Oh, sorry.
Boards and pieces are shifted.
My bad.
And sides brush like the Titanic brushed the iceberg. Who is the boat, or who is the iceberg? It's somewhat unclear in this situation. At long last, he reaches me. He finds that there's no chair for him to plop into. No problem, an empty chair is located nearby. He drags it across the floor, making the same grinding screech that Satan's pet goose would make. Satisfied, he plops in, and with the tip of his brim,
My lady?
breaks out lunch. 2 bags, 2 enormous things of fries, a big gulp cup, and he starts unwrapping this feast in front of me, carefully peeling back the grease-infused paper like it's a Christmas morning. I know he's a chow hound, but this is insane.
I got you some lunch.
Oh, did you sprinkle in a side of Rohypnol just for me?
Sorry I'm late. I had to sneak off campus to get it.
He said this like he just Mission Impossibled it, his way all the way to the Burger King, when in reality, sneaking off of campus involves nothing more than just walking out the back doors. Dozens of other underclassmen,
I've already got lunch, Sam.
indicating a small plate of sushi.
That's your f***ing lunch? Jesus, Lady Saber. No wonder you're so skinny. You need to eat more.
Because you're the gold standard of dietary health.
Sam, if you're going to be mean, I'm not going to talk to you today.
I recently started Ser Sam on a diet, figuratively speaking. If he said something mean, gross, or made a sad attempt at negging, I'd tell him so, or stop responding for the rest of the day. He's moved past having a temper tantrum at this point, and will either sulk or furiously backpedal.
Okay. It was just a f***ing joke. Seriously though, lunch? I got 2 burgers and fries plus a drink.
I'm not overly fond of hamburgers or fast food. I don't like the taste, and the greasy texture makes me want to gag. I don't mind soda, but that cup looks like it's the size of my torso. I don't even think I can drink that much water.
I've got my own lunch, Sam. No thanks.
Sam looks a little frustrated, but he can't see a way to talk me into it. He dives into the buffet, inhaling both cups of fries with his mouth vacuum before demolishing 1 double stacked burger. Food goes in, tiny projectiles of meat slurry are ejaculated back. I shift to the side, trying to keep my plate out of the way of the blast radius of this volcanic eruption. I listen to the sloppy mouth chewing while my appetite disintegrates like soggy cheese puffs. By now, Ser Sam pulls out his phone and starts his odd way of stimulating conversation. He loads a video on YouTube, cranks up the volume on his speakers, and overacts his reaction to the video. Today, the video of choice is an episode of Atheist Experience, though I haven't heard of it yet. Try as I might to tune it out, the low quality blaring audio, it's Sam over the top.
Oh man, he got f***ing told.
That pushes me over.
Sam, can you turn that off? It's really loud.
It's the atheist experience.
Thank you for providing me an appropriate answer to my request. I'm about to respond, but I must have given away my confused look because he immediately cuts me off.
You've never heard of the atheist experience?
Oh my god, no I haven't. Oh, please tell me more.
No, but.
Oh man, it's the best. These guys take like calls from like religious whack jobs and totally shows them up every time. It's so funny. You've never heard of it before?
No, I haven't.
Want to watch an episode with me?
Ah, how romantic.
I'm sorry, Sam. Doesn't sound like my thing.
Oh no. Please don't tell me you go to church.
He phrases this like it's rhetorical, like he knows someone who's almost as smart as he is wouldn't fall for the diverse intellectual fallacies of organized religion, right?
Yeah.
I'm agnostic, but I still go to Catholic Church. Do I believe what they spout? No, for the most part. Do I support the doctrine? Absolutely not. My father's religious though, so we go as a family, and I've always enjoyed the community and volunteer stuff. I know a number of other church-going atheists who feel the same way. However, in a moment of madness, I challenge him to a battle of wits. For the princess, to the death. He accepts.
Seriously?
Super serial.
Yes, I go to church.
Sam isn't quite sure how to respond to this, so he leans over the desk and rests his forehead against the side of his hand. After a few seconds of despondence, at the magnitude of my lady's ignorance, he collects his jimmies and presses onward.
Why? Seriously? How can you support the most genocidal organization known to man?
Because my family is religious, so I go with them.
Oh, well, it's not really your fault for being indoctrinated. I mean, so was I. But then I learned to think for myself.
I can see where this is going, so I try to disengage. I go to work with my nail file, attempting to overact my disinterest in the topic. Subtlety is not exactly Sam's strong suit. I know, I'm a slow learner. The euphoric gentle sir cannot neglect this opportunity to enlighten my lady.
Still, I think everyone has a responsibility to liberate themselves from that institution. The church doesn't do anything any good. It never has. It's just been killing other people and each other for thousands of years. And all because of religion. And they use their Bible to justify it. There's just no point. And nothing ever good comes out of it.
He talks in circles like this for a full 10 minutes before running out of steam and having to rehydrate. With whatever sloshing around in that now half-empty big gulp, I managed to grind a flat spot on my thumbnail. Dang it. Remember how I mentioned the volunteer stuff?
But what about all the charity work that people do?
You said it yourself. People do. They don't need a church. People should do good things just for being good. Not because they think some magical sky wizard wants them to.
He's leaning halfway across the table, hands clasped mightily in the center. I actually looked up the atheist experience afterwards and realized that Sam was trying his hardest to imitate one of the guys on the show. It hurts to think about. I halfway agree with this thought, but I continue.
Without the church, wouldn't it be kind of hard to find a platform to do charity work?
Nonsense.
I wish I was kidding.
Anyone can start a charity and do good deeds.
Okay, what's the one that you know of?
He couldn't actually name one, and instead falls back on,
I think if you're truly a good person, you don't need a promise of heaven.
I think that if you're truly a good person, you do good things. But I'm not smart enough to understand Ser Sam's intellectual reasonings anyway. Ser Sam's anger is starting to bubble up, like a shaken dew bottle. And he's straining to keep it civil. The second burger is made as a sacrifice to his stress, and it's devoured in 3 bites, just before he's saved by the bell, and makes a quick exit. That evening, right on cue, Facebook gets doused like a Guantanamo detainee. He posts a slew of arguments about how religion was stupid, how his beliefs were right, and everyone who believes otherwise were just complete and utter morons who can't think for themselves. Similar to his feminism, Sam's atheism is a long-term ordeal. I can't document every delicious encounter at length. Would that I could, without sacrificing other parts of the saga. Ser Sam Tries to Nerd should be the next story.
Story number 10, Backdoor Invitation.
Hello my lords and my ladies, it's Lady Saber, back with another installment of Ser Sam. This story takes place about a week later, after the previous two. As a note to new readers, this being pretty far along in the story, instead of re-explaining backgrounds, there'll be a link up above that'll take you to the other videos in the series. Let's get our jimmies ready. Player 1, me, Lady Saber. Pretty social personality, but uncomfortable in large groups, especially if I don't know them. In this story, I'm wearing a dark blue full-length dress, matching earrings, and nude heels. My hair is let down and lightly curled, and it's over one shoulder to cover the cut on one side of my face. Player 2 is John, my official boyfriend. Finally, he's looking sharp, wearing a white shirt under a matching blue vest and tie, pressed pants, and polished shoes. He's a much smoother dancer than I am. He has a bit of a temper and will inflate when provoked, and he's also pretty funny. Player 3 is Ser Samwell Smoothcheeks, the chaste and chivalrous knight, creepier than a millipede's legs. He has a high-pitched voice, and he needs lotion just to slip through doorways. I would describe his appearance, but I'll save that for a little later. This story takes place mostly at our school's winter dance. It's not quite a prom, but it's still a black tie affair. It's hosted on February 14th and raises money for charity. This year, it's supporting a local women's shelter and support network in the city. There's a bunch of silly traditions everyone follows. The girls ask the guys to be their dates. There's a race between someone in a chicken suit and the school mascot afterwards. All of this stuff is designed to drum up interest to get more people to buy tickets. The week before the 14th, Sam pays me a visit at the Go Club. The whole scene reminds me of the beginning to Lose Yourself by Eminem. If you had one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted to capture, just let it slip. He makes a big show of himself, making his proposal in front of everyone at the Go Club. He's wearing his usual beard gear with extra crust. He scratches his head before extending the same hand for me to shake. Yo, his palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, and there's something that resembles vomit in his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti? Needless to say, he's nervous, but on the surface, he composes himself like he's calm and ready. Okay, I don't think those weird stains are puke, but he still smells bad enough. The Axe body spray makes a terrible cover. He shifts his weight a few times and goes through a series of nervous ticks before smoothing out his jimmies and asking,
Lady Saber, do you want to go with me to, the winter dance thingy-mabob?
To drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. He opens his mouth, but the words won't come out.
I just, think it'd be a lot of fun, and I mean, all my friends are going, so it'd be like a big group, and I think it'd be a lot of fun.
There's a pause.
I got you something.
He produces a small bouquet of white chrysanthemums and roses from his backpack, crinkled and slightly wilted. I don't know why, but this memory always reminds me of macaroni art. I think it's worth mentioning that in Belgium, those are the flowers you bring to a funeral. I'm flushing bright red. It's dead quiet, and everyone is looking at us, including Mr. Teacher, who is trying to hold back a cringe giggle.
Sam, I'm going to go with John.
Snap back to reality, and he's choked up. He's so mad, but he won't give up so easily. Nope, there's more shock on his face than a victim of the electric chair. I mean, how can I reject him? He did all the things right. He had a compelling speech, an irresistible gift. He even proved his alphaness by totally ignoring the traditional rules of the dance. He quickly falls back to,
well, I mean, just as friends, of course.
much in the same way as someone might fall from a roof. I tell him again, but he presses forward.
Well, has he asked you yet?
Well, no.
Well, looks like you're pretty much single as a Pringle.
No, Sam. John is still my boyfriend, and I can't have 2 dates.
He turns and slouches away, tossing the flowers into the trash can, with as much reluctance as throwing out a can of ravioli. He glances over his shoulder to make sure I'm watching. The rest of the club starts buzzing as Sam storms out. I don't actually ask John until a few days before, just to make him sweat a little. The dance is held off campus, at a large indoor venue. Nice high ceilings, Great acoustics, hardwood floors. One wall is almost all windows, so from the outside you can see everyone having a good time. And from the inside, you can see who is arriving. John and I buy our tickets at the door. We pay like $20, $30, or $50 for a ticket, so John dropped $60 for the both of us. It was a fun time. There's tons of snacks, and almost everyone has showed up. Sam, however, is blessedly absent. I get to enjoy the fun night unimpeded by his beardism. Yeah, right. Half an hour in, a limousine pulls up outside the building. It's cleverly disguised as Sam's mom's minivan. Sam and 6 other members of the invasion force pile out of one side, kicking and bumping into each other through the sliding door. It's a mixed munching bag. Half are skinny, half are fat, and all but one are wearing hats. I grab John and we move to a place where we can see the lobby, so that we can watch the troop enter through the front door. A banana cop, who prevent them from going inside without tickets, is nearly eaten. Apparently, they had no idea this was a charity event, because there is a significant scuffle at the ticket table. John and I are transfixed, nomming on a handful of grapes, while the plaid-armored hedge knights argue about the tickets before angrily leaving. They pace on the sidewalk outside, peering in the window like well-fed Les Miserables orphans, before walking off in the other direction. I thought I dodged the firing squad until the next line dance. I'm grabbing a drink when Ser Sam, Cha-Cha's real smooth up behind me, laying a warm, sweaty palm on my exposed shoulder.
Hey, Lady Saber! Happy Valentine's Day!
7 save us. He's wearing brown loafers, khakis, a plaid flannel shirt tucked in under a dark suit jacket, a crooked striped tie, and a pinstriped navy blue trilby. My eyes, I forgot the cane. Yes, a dark, straight cane in his other hand. Numeria's 10,000 watts. I had to pull myself out of euphoria to respond.
You two, I thought I saw your group leave just now.
Heh, yeah. We went to the school first because we thought we were supposed to go there. Then they wanted to charge some retarded amount of money to get in here.
You know it's for charity, right?
He's surprised by that, but tries to hide it.
Yeah, we know. But still, $20 is way too much.
I'm about to ask how he managed to get in when I noticed a semicircle of compatriots forming around me. I'm by myself, pinned between them and a snack table. I'm a little worried about a stampede. From here, I'll just refer to Sam's friends by the color of the trilby they're wearing. Blue lifts his hat in greeting, revealing a sweaty crust of blonde hair underneath.
So, you're the Lady Saber we've all heard so much about.
Huh. Yeah, I guess.
I laugh nervously. Each gentle sir introduces himself with a tip. White, blue, black, navy, gray, and hatless.
Bird bar at your service.
Like dwarves introducing themselves from the musty mountain in the service of Mordork. They're all dressed in a similar, ridiculous array of Ser Sam, though none can top his cane. Gray and navy are skinny, and the only one that looked like he googled men's formal fashion wear is the hatless one. The circle presses in a little tighter, as a flood of compliments surge me, like a shaken up bottle of dew.
Wow, your dress looks good. You look good in that dress. Is your hair really blonde? Wow, hey, it's cool how much you like games.
You're so cute.
You don't need all that makeup.
Black tries to touch my hair. I'm quickly saved by John and company, and he forces an opening in the circle, pulls me out as a spokesman for the beneficiary, takes the stage to give a speech. Everyone shuts up and turns to listen, except for the world's greatest feminist. Sam saddles up to my right side. John's already occupying my left, and he has his arm around my waist. The speaker starts her spiel, and Sam has a witty remark for every other line.
We've managed to raise about $100,000.
Heh, yeah, because you f***ing overcharge everyone.
For an optional charity event.
I've been working for this organization for years.
Probably because your boss likes your tits.
She runs the damn thing.
And I just wanted to tell you all how grateful I am for this generosity.
Because we're like paying your f***ing salary?
They're all volunteers. After his hilarious one-liners, Sam turns to look at me, making sure I'm able to bask in his warm, moist glow of his good comedic taste. I make no reply, pretending to be intent on the speaker. But that doesn't stop Ser Sam. My lady clearly doesn't hear her champion. He also fidgets and itches himself while edging closer, making it painfully clear that he wants to touch me somehow. This continues for the entirety of the 5 to 10 minute talk. John is getting wound up, silently squeezing my waist, just like a Cheez Whiz packet. Sam blithely continues with his humor until the people around him start to shush him. Like any classy alpha male gentleman, he makes mocking faces, but eventually stops talking. Eventually, though he chances one last remark to win my lady's hand, Sam leans in close and drops his voice low.
It's pretty funny. All of us snuck through the door around the back.
Are you serious?
He grins smugly. My lady should clearly be impressed by his cunning.
Yeah, it wasn't even locked. People are such idiots.
You cheated a charity out of more than $100.
He doesn't see a problem with this at all. In fact, it's almost an accomplishment.
Yeah, so? We showed up to give our support, didn't we? They already got tons of money.
By now, a roar of applause goes up, and people start to make for their exit. John and I make for our escape. Like the last 2 egg noodles after the end of a speech, we lose ourselves in the crowd. It isn't until after the chicken race that Sam is able to locate us again.
Hey, Lady Saber. Sorry I lost you guys earlier. Can you give us a ride home?
John and I have separated at this point. I'm waiting for him to bring back the truck from the parking lot, so I'm pretty much single as a Pringle.
I don't have a ride. My mom just dropped us off. Can you take me home?
What about your friends?
Oh, well, I guess they need a ride too. How many people can you fit?
I don't know, Sam. It's not my car.
There's a few awkward minutes of just standing around before John arrives. The rest of the Beatus Brigade trickles in. John finally pulls up next to the sidewalk. Sam makes like a rabbitkin and tries to hop in. He clambers halfway through the passenger door when John tries to stop him. Sam, what the hell are you doing?
I need a ride, John.
Dude, I don't have space for you in your herd.
Well, how am I supposed to get home then?
What would this evening be without a good vintage wine? Sam, that really ain't my problem. He backs out and stands on the road, giving his hat a tip and holding the already open door for me as I climb in the cab. I don't want to think about what he's looking at as he's standing behind me.
Hey, John, you think we can ride in the back?
You mean the truck bed?
Yeah, there's plenty of room.
I'm more worried about the towing capacity than the room. Sam, I don't even know where you guys live. I can't spend all night driving around. John and I exchange a look of, why do we even need to have this conversation?
It's okay. We all live close by. White just lives over by Bumshartsville.
That's like a half an hour away. Seriously. Just call your mommy and get her to pick you guys up. Lady Saber and I have to go.
Please, can you just drop them off at my house then? My mom can't pick us up. We're all gonna be stuck here, and it's like cold.
John and Sam don't actually live that far apart, but more on that later. It might have been easy just to drive away, but John relents, and they climb in the truck bed. Sam still tries to make a bid to share the front seat with Milady, but the door was mysteriously locked. From the huffing and puffing, we'd think they tried to scale a wall barehanded. Gray couldn't physically manage it. He had to be hoisted up. After the whole crew was in, and the bed was nearly scraping the ground, Sam slaps the back of the window twice, leaving behind a greasy palm print. Hatless is nowhere to be seen, but everyone forgot about that at the time. The ride home was comical. Everyone's holding fast to their trilbies. Part of the ride home is on the freeway at about 60 miles an hour. Even the crustiest hair is flapping in the breeze like soggy potato chips. Sam hoots and hollers, while a few of the members of the team looks like they're about to be sick. Less than a mile from his home, Sam loses his classy trilby. He looks like he's about to cry, but he puts on a brave face. The original plan was to drop me off first, but I really don't want those guys knowing where I live. So the gentle sirs are dropped off first at Sam's house. And sure enough, his minivan is parked happily in the driveway. Thanks a lot, Mom.
Story number 11, Zero Net Worth.
Hello everyone, Lady Saber here, back finally with the next installment of Ser Sam the Chivalrous. Again, here are the players. Player 1, me, Lady Saber of House Snark. I'm pretty athletic, but it's mostly reserved to a few specific activities. Most of my classes have been changed for the new semester, so I spend a lot of time meandering in the enormous school building, just like a stupid freshman. Player 2 is most regrettably Ser Sam the Chaste and Chivalrous. He wears the standard neck-planted attire of cargo shorts, 2 tight graphic tees, and the wide-brimmed brown fedora, as well as the heavy musk of Axe hottest fragrance, teenage angst. Or maybe it's pretentious ejaculator? Hard to tell. He's a chronic underachiever, taking the lowest level credits offered, and treating his failing grades like an accomplishment. As such, he doesn't share any of my classes, yet. Minor player, number 3, is my counselor. He isn't a very agreeable person, but he and I have worked pretty close, so that my credits satisfy both the school and my exchange program. All of my classes are semester long, so after my exams, my whole schedule changes. I'm taking creative writing, chemistry, sociology, and pre-cal. It isn't until a few days into these classes that my counselor summons me to his office. As it happens, the school requires students to take 2 gym class credits. Otherwise, you can't graduate. Because I'm planning a lot of AP classes in my 11th and 12th year, I decided to switch sociology with an open gym course. The next day, I head to my new class, Net Games. It's in the gym on the opposite side of the school, making for a very long walk. I find the gym easy enough, but it's empty, so I hunt for another 5 minutes to find an actual classroom. I ended up being late, and everyone looks at me like I just crawled out from under a log, including Ser Sam. Yes, Ser Sam, in a gym course. There's a few open seats, 2 of which are on either side of Ser Sam. He excitedly pulls out a chair from his left. I opt for the seat on the other side of the room. Mr. Coach is explaining badminton rules, while Sam gives me the occasional glances, turning almost completely in his seat, as subtle as a dynamite charge. Because I missed the first few days, Mr. Coach dumps a huge stack of forms on my desk, so that I can take home and sign.
We just went over the basic information stuff the last few days, so you should be good.
After our crash course on the rules, everyone moseys out toward the lockers. As I stand, Ser Sam scrambles like an egg on an extra cheesy McMuffin to accompany my lady. He holds the door for me, even though it stopped open. The journey to the locker was a short distance, but it felt like it took a lifetime. The hallway is wide, but the tight crowd and the number of turns makes the trip significantly awkward with Ser Sam lumbering by. He decides to make intriguing conversation as we walk.
So, net games, huh?
Yeah?
Cool. It's funny. Only signed up for this class because I thought it meant like, net games? I mean, games you play on the internet? You know, on the computer.
I would like some vinaigrette on that word salad.
Oh, okay.
Based on the number of other students who've yet to see the sun this year, he's not alone in his mistake. I managed to deflect conversation long enough to reach the door, and when I get to the girls' room, I half expect Sam to try to follow me inside. But before I can stop him, someone else does the honor. We'll call her Bree.
Yo, what are you doing?
Nothing. Just talking to Lady Saber.
Nito, this is the girls' locker room, so why don't you find someone else who doesn't want to talk to you, okay?
Bree's a big girl, and has obviously practiced the jock persona well. Sam considers holding his ground, but he backs off, with his face red and his fists clenched. As we change, Bree and I talk.
So, how you liking your new boyfriend?
Sam? Oh, no, we are not. No. Oh, God, no.
I'm playing with you. That kid's a creep. You're that exchange student, right?
That's me.
Bree eventually asks me about my scar, and she offers to tell me a few of the more fantastical versions that was being passed around.
Hang out with me today. He won't with you.
While piling back into the hallway, Bree and I get separated in the crowd. At the end of the hall, Sam catches up with me, like a freight train to a loaded school bus. He's still wearing the same getup, fedora included. What he did with his 10 minutes in the locker room, I don't want to know.
Hey, Lady Saber, what's up? I can't wait for this class to be over.
Me neither.
Believe me.
Huh? I'm not even gonna do anything in here. It's not like anyone can actually make me.
That's about all the words he can spit out before we're in the gym. Mr. Coach comes in behind the class. We take a seat on the bleachers while he explains what the plan is for the day. Sam plops down to my left, slouching back and taking up far more than the reasonable space. Bree is on my right, and I feel like I'm about to be drawn and quartered between the she-wolf and the buttered rhino. While Mr. Coach briefly explains daily gym routine, Bree and I maintain a strained conversation as a pretense for ignoring Sam. He refuses to be left out. As Bree and I talk, Sam oh so subtly scoots closer and tries to insert himself into our conversation. Laughing boisterously at our jokes, Bree scoots in the opposite direction, giving me space to scoot away. Sam follows right along, making a delightful scooter puff train. This goes on for about a half a meter. I try holding up my palm for personal space, and I get a high five. Bree has a pretty weak stomach for cringe.
Bruh, Sam, you need to give Lady Saber some space.
What are you talking about, random girl I don't know?
Dude, seriously, do you have any idea what personal space is?
Not soon enough, Mr. Coach directs us to do warm-ups. Ser Sam has already decided that warm-ups are beneath him. Him and a few others stay sitting, while the rest of the class go through the motions of running laps, a round of suicides, a few basic stretches. All the while, Ser Sam is watching me. His face is slightly lost. He desperately wants to follow me around, but he doesn't want anything to do with Bree. He continues to overthink his strategy until the class finishes. We go to work setting up the badminton sets, and Sam is pretty much the only one setting out now, and Mr. Coach has had enough of it. After a minute of persistent berating, Ser Sam reluctantly gives in, but with Bree by my side, he holds his distance. As it turns out, I'm pretty good at badminton. Mr. Coach lets us all free play, and strolls around to give people advice. Bree and I start out together, but we eventually decide to split up and find other matches during the last few minutes of the class. No sooner has Bree left than Sam swoops in for a chance to win Milady's heart, tipping his fedora in greeting.
Hey, Lady Saber, wanna play a game?
Everyone else is paired off in singles or doubles. I'm trapped like Frodo in Shelob's lair.
I was actually about to go grab some water.
You've hardly done anything.
I shrug that off, and I push through the double doors into the hall. I spend as long as I can drinking and standing around, and I took a little longer going back in. Sure enough, most people have switched around, but the faithful Ser Sam was still waiting for me.
You must have been thirsty.
I had no idea what to say to that, but Sam was happy to fill in the blanks.
We were gonna play, right?
Sam, I thought you said you weren't going to do anything in this class.
Well, yeah, but I didn't think we were gonna play badminton. That's easy.
You know how to play?
Oh, yeah, I used to play it with my friends a lot. It's easy.
It is glaringly obvious that he's never played before. He tries to serve it overhand, he holds the racket sideways for a swing, and whiffs 3 times before trying underhand. That one works, if hitting under the net counts. And out of bounds seems to change with each return. First it's that line, then it's this line, and then it's somewhere sort of between the 2 lines, and I always manage to land barely between the wrong sides of it. It's like playing checkers with a pigeon. At one point, Mr. Coach stops by to try to help Sam with his technique. With gratitude, Ser Sam would say,
"Okay, whatever."
And,
Yeah, I know.
So he moves on to the next person. After only a few rounds, another guy joins our game. He jumps in on my side, and Sam reacts immediately.
Hey, 2-on-1 isn't fair.
Okay, maybe you two could be together.
No, Lady Saber, you and I should be on a team.
Ser Sam aside, I still enjoy the game. I consider sitting it out, but I'm not going to be kept from something I like. Plus, he'd probably sit it out with me to make sure I'm safe.
All right then.
Luckily for me, there's not a whole lot of playing to do. Sam insists on trying to return every shot in protection of my lady's honor. My job is to hold the racket, look ready, and dance out of the way while Sam dives for the shot on my side of the court. It's kind of like playing underwater tag with a beluga. The other guy we're playing with is deliberately hitting things toward my side, trying to give me something to return. When it's Sam's turn to serve, my turn is always the next time. Sometimes he'll randomly hit it towards me really fast.
Hey, watch out!
Think fast, Lady Saber.
The best part? I'm on Fedora Patrol. When his suede great helm takes a tumble, I'm supposed to get it.
Hey, Lady Saber, grab my hat.
You dropped it, Sam.
Yeah, but you're closer.
Was there ever so sweet a sound as 2 whistle blast? The class starts to take down the nets and put away the gear. Bree catches up with me again, and Sam sheepishly retreats to a safe distance, remaining there for the rest of the class. After that school day, I storm into the counselor's office and beg for a class change. I stay for almost 2 hours, making everything from angry demands to crocodile tears. Finally, he relents, and he lets me switch back to my original schedule. I promise to make up my credit next year, and I'm planning to hunt for threatening course titles like Full Contact Physical Sports Level 3. That way I know Ser Sam won't be in it.
Story number 12, Being Camped.
Hello everyone, it's Lady Saber, back for another installment of Ser Sam the Chivalrous. We're pretty far along this point in our story, but let's go ahead and introduce the characters again. Player 1, Lady Saber. I'm from across the narrow sea. I'm a foreign exchange student, slowly learning how to America. I've always relatively been an outdoorsy person, but finding people to do that kind of stuff with is pretty tough. I've got a lot of experience in backpacking, biking, and skiing in Europe, but none here. I'm also Catholic, so to the meeting, I'll wear cutoffs and a tank top with my favorite leather jacket. Player number 2, my boyfriend, John. He lives pretty far out in the country, and his favorite outdoor things aren't very different from mine. He dresses like a normal person, except for that obnoxiously large belt buckle. He has dark short hair, and he stands about 5'10", which is a thumb above Sam, and he has a southern accent that I could listen to all day. Player number 3, for some reason keeps being Ser Sam the Chivalrous, the smoothest cheeked neckbeard of all. He has absolutely no experience outdoors of any kind. But that has no bearing, of course, on his ability to be the best and most informed camper the world has ever known. He's fatter than your average Tumblr user. He has a very squeaky, high-pitched voice, and he usually reeks of death and Axe newest body spray, eau de douche. He's terminally diagnosed with a nice guy syndrome, prone to outbreaks of euphoria. For those of you who don't know, venture scouting is a lot like Boy Scouting, but there are some major differences. For one, it's co-ed, so it's both guys and girls. Additionally, it's for an older group, mainly 14 to 21, and we do high adventure stuff, not like the Boy Scouts, because they're only allowed to do silly things like safety. John has been doing venture for a long time. It wasn't really hard for him to convince me to come with him. We discuss it at school. He gives me the information, and I agree to show up. I've got a few friends in various clubs that I thought might be interested, so I make an announcement to go on the board at the French and Go Club. Uh-oh, do you hear that? It sounds like the nail tipping its way into the coffin. Sunday afternoon rolls around, and my host mother gives me a ride to the church. This is where we held the meeting. It's slightly early, but I go inside and meet a few people who are already there. One of the adults gives me a membership packet. It's about 5 pages long. It's mostly demographic information and some reading about the program. So I tuck myself away in a corner. That way I can write up against a wall. I'm pretty engrossed in the material, and more people start to arrive. Before long, I'm interrupted.
Hey, Lady Saber!
Oh, Jesus Christ on a tricycle. Here?
Sam!
He made even less of an effort for this meeting. He's wearing a dark hoodie with a stretched out frocket, accessorized with weird stains, cargo shorts filled to busting with euphoria and atheism, and a small green trilby perched atop his head. I still have no idea how many of those things he has.
Yeah, I saw the flyer you left at the Go Club. Too bad I wasn't there to see you, huh? You look dashing today.
Well, he's fishing for an ego boost, but I refuse to bite.
I didn't know you were into outdoor stuff.
That was a subtle neg.
What? Like camping and Yeah, that's easy. I've been doing it since I was a kid. What's that paper thingamabob?
It's an application to join the crew. You should grab one from one of the adults.
He retrieves a packet from the crew advisor, and he pulls over a chair and plops down beside me, panting from the effort. He's relatively focused, on me at least, covertly glancing at my thigh while reading. It isn't until he gets into the Venture Club's oath that he stops.
As a venturer, I promise to do my duty to God and help strengthen America to help others and to seek truth and fairness and adventure in our world. Whoa, Lady Saber, have you read this Venturo thingamabob?
Yeah.
I can't believe they want us to conform to this shit. I mean, I know you're religious, but even you've got to see that it's stupid, right?
I'm not in the mood for this conversation today.
You know you can't be here if you're an atheist, Sam.
What do you mean?
I mean, they won't let you join.
That's retarded. I should be able to do whatever I want.
It's just the rules, Sam.
With that, I excuse myself and return the packet to the crew advisor, hoping beyond hope that Sam's euphoria will overcome his fixation on me. The membership fee is $50, but I'm told not to worry about it for now. As I finish speaking with the crew advisor, someone taps me on the shoulder from behind.
Lady Saber?
Not exactly the voice I was expecting. I turn on my heels to find myself face to face with Sam's mother.
Mrs. Sam!
Hey, it's great to see you here. Sam told me you invited him to this little event. Was it at that club y'all started together?
My brain started to struggle to wade through all the BS that I imagined that Sam was feeding his mother. I was only able to address part of it.
Go Club? Yeah, I made an announcement, but I don't think Sam was there. I just left a flyer.
Oh, well, it still sounds like a neat little thingy. I had no idea that groups like this existed. Do you go camping much?
Yes, I have a lot of experience back home, but none here.
Well, Sam will have a great teacher. He's never been. I don't know where this sudden interest came from, but it should be a good exercise.
I have an inkling where the interest comes from, but I kept my mouth shut, and Mrs. Sam excuses herself while the meeting begins. John at long last arrives. I pinch him for straining me with Sam. Neither of us expected him of all people to show up. Sam remains at a safe distance while the meeting gets underway. There's about 15 people present, evenly split between guys and girls, with about 5 or so being adults. Sam and I get introduced together in front of everyone. I'm first. I speak a little bit about my experience back home and why I'm interested in joining the crew. Sam introduces himself with a flourish, fully removing his trilby for the swooning of all the miladies present. He talks too loud for the small room, regaling everyone at length how much he loved camping. And
I'm so glad that my good friend, Lady Saber, invited me here.
I grimace. The two of us get a smattering of applause, and I exit stage right. During the meeting, we sit around folded tables, and they're arranged in an irregular polygon. Sam sits across from me, staring daggers into John, while two people give short presentations on how to pack your backpack. To acquiesce my lady's attentions, he makes utterly hilarious comments. No one laughs. They're clearly unable to appreciate the jest of a superior intellect.
Weight is super important. Your pack shouldn't be more than 30% your own body mass, so bring only what you need. Does that include textbooks? What? Well, you said your backpack shouldn't weigh more than 30%. Should I put my textbooks in there or no?
Sam's grinning like the Cheshire Cat, in spite of himself. The poor presenters have no idea how to handle this gracefully, so all they can say is,
Well, it's not a school backpack, so, you really don't need textbooks, so... Oh, I was wondering why I needed to bring all that stuff to school.
He continues the entire time, stretching out the presentation like a victim of the Spanish Inquisition. Sam glances at me to gauge my reaction after each and every punchline. By the end, everyone is all cringed out and more than thankful to move on. The crew planned on going backpacking and fishing at the end of the trip, which is planned well in advance so we can be prepared. There are multiple loops we can take to get where we need to go, and a few topographical maps are passed around. And we quickly narrow down our choices of 2 trails. That's the length that we want, and to avoid steep grades. I peek over at Sam, who has been studying his map for some time, slowly tracing his finger over the paper. He raises his hand to get the crew president's attention, and he asks,
What about this route I found right here? No one else saw it. It goes right through the house, and it doesn't curve all over the place.
He hoists his map into the air, just like a Targaryen banner, and he plants his sausage finger firmly in the center. A few people crowd around to examine exactly what we've all missed. I glance back at my map that's on the table, and after a few seconds, Sam's foolish grin is overshadowed by the confused scowls. He appears to have found the trail that only smart people can see.
Sorry, dude. I don't see what you're pointing at. What? How? It's like right there.
He jabs at the map with his finger, shaking it like San Francisco in the early 1900s.
Dude, that's a topography line. What? No, it's a trail. That's what the black snaky lines are. Everybody knows that. The trails are the dotted lines. The solid lines are topography. It shows elevation change. I know that. I was pointing at you know what? Screw it. Just forget it. You don't see what I'm pointing at.
There's a brief pause as everyone eyes each other to confirm that just happened. Sam slouches back into his chair, struggling to hide his deflation. The crew votes to take a longer route in favor of a more shallow grade. All told, it's about a 20-kilometer loop. When the president asks for a show of hands on who plans to attend, Sam looks at me first before raising his hand too. There's a question asked about what food we'll be eating, and the response is only,
Philmont rations.
I have no idea what that means, but everyone else apparently does, so I stay quiet. Sam naturally knows.
Oh man, those are the best!
After finishing our planning, the crew circles up to hold hands for a short closing prayer. I pity the girls who had to hold the hand of Ser Sam, but I'm still thankful it wasn't me. As everyone starts to pack up and leave, I stay back to talk to the crew advisor. John helps the others put away the tables and chairs, so Sam seizes the chance to get close to my lady. He stands right behind me while the crew advisor and I talk, and he's mouth breathing heavily.
Sam, do you have a question for me?
No.
Lady Saber asked what I was going to ask already.
Before leaving, with Sam on my heels, John and I share a heartfelt goodbye. See ya, loser!
Later, face.
There was a noted lack of chivalry afterwards, but once I got home, this little gem was waiting for me, and it goes as follows.
I simply can't comprehend in any condition why brilliant, charming women constantly choose to court rubbish boys with a complete sense of deference or class toward them. Sincerely, one has to contemplate the unfortunate reality that most females simply don't covet a man who grasps the true worth.
I'm with you. The number of girls I see with random douchebags who probably beat them on a regular basis makes me lose faith in humanity.
Precisely. When a woman can be publicly demeaned by her so-called boyfriend and she chooses to remain with him, I grew despondent for nice guys everywhere who actually desire a meaningful relationship. Too bad our generation only cares about hookups and notching the bedpost rather than finding someone who matters. I wouldn't date a girl who lets her boyfriend smack her around. She's probably just a desperate slut who wants attention.
A desperate slut who wants attention is literally 90% of the girls in my school.
Story number 13, Mad English.
Hello everyone, Lady Saber here, back with another installment of Ser Sam the Chivalrous. Let's go ahead with the story. I'm player 1, Lady Saber, from the land of always winter. I'm on a sundress kick, finally almost at home at the scorching 100% humidity that is the American South. Player number 2 is still somehow Ser Sam, our sandaled, smooth-cheeked friend zone. Any weather is perfect weather for cargo shorts and sandals. Sam has grown out his long hair during the summer so that it can shield him from the dangers of outdoors. Player number 3 is Mr. Teacher, my English teacher. This is the same Mr. Teacher who taught English the previous year, as well as hosted the Go Club. It's not uncommon for teachers to follow a cohort from year 9 to year 12, especially for advanced placement students. We're good friends. He's a bro, and he's well aware of Sam's chivalry. This tale begins at the beginning of the next school year, towards the end of summer. John and we got in a huge fight, and it left us in this we're not quite really broken up phase, but we're not together space, while we handle our problems like grown-up adults and not speak to each other. The first days of lunch are always awkward. None of the clubs are open, none of the upperclassmates have off-campus lunch passes, and none of the freshmen have any idea what to do. The indoor lunchroom is a cacophonous echo chamber of angst and hormones, while the outdoor courtyard is empty because it's raining. My group of friends have been boxed out of a table, so we tightly pack in a circle around the wall. Soon enough, I spot Sam and his brawny cronies. They just exited the lunch line, and they're standing around shoving each other, just the way boys do when they're not sure what happens next. And Sam spots me. He tries to herd his group in my direction, the same way that one might herd feral cats with a feather duster. While it is loud in the lunchroom, I can still pick up a bit of their conversation.
Not gonna sit with girls. No way, dude. That's like gay.
Is it cooties? No, I've been a specialist about that. They're not contagious. Sam's fedora faction eventually follows his lead. While his group tries to ignore our existence, and we try to ignore their smell, Sam and I are practically shoulder to shoulder.
Hey, Lady Saber.
I shove a bit of food in my mouth so that I have an excuse not to talk. I just wave. Sam continues staring at me while he cracks open his overfull lunchbox. Thanks, Mom, and a Dr. Pepper that can only be described as American size.
I like your dress, Lady Saber,
he says, looking at me like a kid in a museum who really wants to touch the art. I hate being talked to when my mouth is full. As I go for another bite, Sam says,
"Ooh, keep going."
Huh? Oh, for Pete's sake. I'm eating a banana. I shoot back a well-practiced withering stare, and I put the fruit down. Sam adjusts himself nervously, and he opens the first container in his lunch, and the smell of stale pasta sauce takes me back. Sam starts a shoveling, like a Canadian during a heavy winter snow, asking me around 2 mouthfuls for the price of 1.
What classes are you taking this semester?
I don't respond.
Here, take a look at mine.
Sam holds out a schedule in front of me to examine.
I just want to eat, Sam.
For those who are taking notes, what I really meant to say, in his eyes, was,
I want to see your schedule up close.
Sam holds the paper higher and closer and higher and closer until it's clear that he's going to press it up against my nose. The whole time, he is giggling to himself that this is the funniest joke in the world. With that, I put my earbuds in and I shuffle my angry playlist, bringing me the Horizon's It Never Ends with some fitting lyrics.
Hey, are you okay?
I've said it once.
I'm fine, Sam.
Are you sure? You seem mad about something.
I've said it twice.
I said I'm fine.
It just seems like...
I've said it 1,000 freaking times.
Sam, I just want to eat, okay?
He turns his attention to his friends for the rest of lunch. When the bell rings, we go our separate ways, seeing none of each other for the rest of the day. We share no classes, we don't cross paths, and life is good, right? 2 days later, Sam strolls into my AP English class, and he eyes me with an ear-to-ear hungry grin.
Hey, Lady Saber,
he declares triumphantly, plopping down a seat next to me.
I got switched into this class. Honor was way too easy. Those people are on a lower level. You know, upstairs.
At the bell, Mr. Teacher raises from his desk to take attendance. He starts at seeing Sam. Most of us were all in the same English class together last year, as well as the year before.
Sam, I didn't see you on my roster.
I got switched in here from honors level.
He slouches back in his chair, like a boy king who just ascended the Iron Throne.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Teacher glances at me. He catches the look of desperation on my face.
Would you mind sliding up into this seat for me?
There's one other empty seat in the whole classroom, and it's still only 2 rows in front of me. But beggars can't be choosers.
What? Why?
Sam whines.
It'll help me take attendance.
Ugh, but I'm already sitting here.
Mr. Teacher doesn't respond, but the look on his face gives a very strong,
I'm not asking again,
vibe. And Sam quickly caves in. He saunters up to his new seat, grumbling to himself all the way. Mr. Teacher dives right into the lesson, and as he goes through the next text, Sam turns to look at me repeatedly, always playing it off like he's checking the clock. Smooth as sandpaper. It's not long before we're giving short writing assignments, and the prompt is,
what period in history, or setting in a work of fiction, would you travel to and why?
I'm sure you're all surprised by my choice, seeing that I picked Westeros. We're given 20 minutes. The idea is to free write, getting ideas on paper without getting bogged down with editing or stressing over minor details. I hammer out a page and a half before the time is up. Mr. Teacher calls on a few students to read out loud, and soon enough, it's my turn. Yo, my palms are sweaty and my knees are weak.
I've got a lot written.
Just the first paragraph is fine.
So off I stumble, tripping over anything that starts with an H. I didn't expect to read, so I'm more than a little self-conscious, especially saying the word Westeros out loud. I finish and I sit down. I lock eyes with Sam. I notice that Sam has locked his eyes on my waist. He's still slouching with his arm draped over the back of the chair.
That was bad,
he said with a chuckle. No one laughs, and a few of my classmates raised their hand and gave me some suggestions and corrections.
Sam, let's hear what you got,
Mr. Teacher says, with an amiable smile.
What? No, I didn't write much.
Then it'll go quick. Come on.
Mr. Teacher's not the type to take no as an answer from a student. Sam frets in his seat before rising to read, and this is what he said. I'll transcribe the first paragraph in shorthand, and it's still in my English book today.
In history, there was a single day that changed the United States. During this time, the sleeping military giant, who was not ranked that high, went on a course to become the most powerful nation of all time. That day, the Pearl Harbor was bombed, is the day that I would like to go back to.
Now this is a college credit, dear reader. You may make this what you will. The room is quiet. Mr. Teacher is still indecipherable.
Thank you, Sam. For homework, hash out your first paragraph and thesis statement. We'll go over them tomorrow.
As we leave to the tone of the bell, Sam catches up to me.
Hey, Lady Saber, what's a thesis?
Story number 14, The Waiting Game. Lady Saber here. Here's a trigger warning for major cringe content. If you're a new reader to this, I suggest you go back. For some clarity, I want to rehash some of our player descriptions. Player 1, me, Lady Saber, 17 at the time, 1 year into my 2-year exchange program from Belgium. I am very short and very blonde. I'm a lifelong fencer and apparently a neckbeard smosh. My coach has recommended a weightlifting regimen, that way I can break through some plateaus in my training. So John and I pick it up together. At the time of this tale, we've been lifting together for like 6 months. That brings in player number 2, John, my swole mate. He's a good old boy. He's got a temper and a dry sense of humor. Despite also being an athlete, he's never done any serious lifting. He's made some real gains over the past 6 months, and he's pushing me almost as hard as I push him. Player number 3, Ser Sam, the whitest and most chivalrous knight of all the land, often mistaken for Shamu, typically wears cargo shorts, the wrong kind of graphic tee, and sandals. And his chubbiness has doomed him to babyface. He has a squeaky voice that would be perfect for a WD-40 commercial, and fedoras. Remarkably, it's become rare. He definitely does not lift anything heavier than a cheeseburger, although to him, that makes him an expert at all things gym. I'm going to try to leave out some of the fitness terminology here and try to give you just an idea throughout. This story takes place a few weeks after the previous. John and I are doing better. Lifting together helps. My fencing gym, a small part of a much larger complex, has a large weight machine room. So John and I go there 3 days a week after school. Because I'm paying for fencing, the gym access is free, and John gets it cheap with a student ID. At lunch I sit with a small group at the library, and we're working on a project, which mostly involves chatting in the presence of open books. Sam has followed me here. But what else is new? Our table is quite out of the way, so he can't get close enough to stay close without being conspicuous. Instead, he opts for the stealthier option. He walks back and forth nearby, constantly dropping things, and it's like watching James Bond after having a traumatic brain injury. Later that afternoon, my host mother drives me straight from school to the gym. I change into my workout clothes, and I start on the squat rack. I warm up with just the bar. As I'm finishing my last lap, Sam strides up behind me, and he taps me on my shoulder.
Hey, Lady Saber!
I feel the color drain from my face as I re-rack the bar.
I didn't know you came here. I thought you just fenced.
I've never seen you here before either, Sam.
I take a moment to examine his getup. Fingerless gloves, mid-calf socks, running shoes, and a shirt with a warning that says, "If zombies chasing us, I'm tripping you," and jean shorts. He's also carrying a big gulp, large enough to bludgeon an elephant.
I'm practically here all the time.
Really? I've never seen you.
Well, yeah, I don't come here after school when it's all crowded like this. I come in the morning.
Before school?
Yeah?
At 6 a.m.
Yeah. Anyway, are you only gonna do just the bar? Aren't you gonna add weights or anything? I mean, come on, even I can.
I'm just warming up.
I reply, turning on my heels toward the weight tree. Sam dives in front of me, grabbing hold of the kettlebell and the resistance band.
Don't worry, Lady Saber, I'll get it for you.
What are you doing with those, Sam?
You said you were adding weights, right? You tie this around and hang it on each side, duh.
I ignore him, and I walk to the opposite side of the bench press. I pull off one of the plates from the weight tree.
Oh, that works too. Not the way I would do it, but whatever,
Sam says, dropping the kettlebell on the floor and scampering right up to me, making to wrestle the weights from my hand.
I can get that for you.
I got it.
You sure? It looks heavy for you,
He says, as I raise it to chest height and I load it on the bar.
I'll get the other one.
He proclaimed, power walking back to the weight tree. He grabs a heavier plate and is heaving it back to the squat rack.
That's not the right weight, Sam.
Well, you didn't tell me which one to grab.
He squeals. I go and retrieve the correct weight plate while he unloads the heavier one and lays it on the floor.
Sam, would you put it back where you got it?
But why?
Because Mom isn't here mostly.
Fine, I'll get it.
No. I'll get it for you, don't worry.
I consider approaching the rack when I spot Sam in my peripheral vision, staring right at me. Nope. No way am I about to make a deposit into his wank bank. I backpedal to the opposite wall, and I sink into the bench seat. Sam's disappointment is palpable.
What's wrong?
I'm resting.
But you've hardly did anything.
You rest between sets, Sam.
He stares back blankly. Finally, John arrives, strives through the double doors and up to me. Sam is suddenly overcome with a great thirst, beating a hasty retreat to the water fountain.
Where the hell have you been?
Well, I didn't want to get here early and spoil y'all's date or nothing.
Would you be a dear and fetch me a cyanide pill?
I'm gonna go get changed out. I hope you two can make it work. He seems like the one for you.
John pokes his nose with a playful straight face before turning and leaving to the lockers. Before long he's back, and we start our workout together. I'm hoping to set a new personal record with the squat bar. But as I finish up my warm-up set, with Sam still lurking behind me, my heart isn't into it. John and I switch between the bench press. We're taking turns lifting and spotting each other, and giving each other motivational insults. Sam orbits nearby, watching me after repeating whatever John says.
Come on, babe. You got this. Push. 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 Yeah, Lady Saber, you got it. Push. Push.
Overhead presses follow, then pull-ups. With each set, Sam drifts farther and farther away, starting at the dumbbell rack and ending farther and farther out of sight by the machines, leaving a trail of scattered gear in his wake. Eventually, we split apart. John works on curls and a few other accessory lifts, when I go to the treadmill. Seeing an opportunity, Sam trips over himself to get on a treadmill that was right next to me, hurriedly punching buttons until it starts moving, and he's moving at a waddling pace. I'm trying to enjoy the rush while ignoring the smell of sweaty Cheetos. Sam is determined to impress my lady with his alpha male physical superiority, upping his pace to a gentle jog. The thumping of his feet tips the Richter scale.
So, did you have a good workout?
He wheezes.
Yes.
Within 2 minutes, Sam is sweating enough to be in a Gatorade commercial and asks if I want to take a break. I don't respond, but he pushes on for another 60 seconds before quitting, panting something about hydration. John stops by before leaving, changed and freshly showered. He offers to babysit, but I'm almost finished myself. He gives me a possessive goodbye kiss with an arm wrapped around my waist. Sam doesn't rejoin me on the treadmill. After slightly less than a half an hour, I'm finished, and I head over to the lockers, pausing by the weight room. You know what? Screw it. I rest for a spell before warming up once more and going to the bar. And like a glitchy arcade whack-a-mole, Sam reappears in a jiffy, sulking in the distance to watch the show. I'd take a deep breath, get under the bar, and unrack the weights. It's heavy, but not unmanageable. I lower, riding it to the ground, watching in the mirror so that my hips don't drop below my knees. Exhaling, slowly push back up. 1, again, down, and again, up. 2, oh hell, I'm doing it. Down, up. 3, Sam is inching closer. His arms are crossed, and he's turning in circles occasionally, starting to sheepishly cheer me on. Down, up. My quads are screaming through number 4, and I feel my knees wobble. 1 more, come on, now or never.
Yeah, go Lady Saber.
Sam cheers me as I lower to number 5. It's now or never. He seizes the opportunity and gives me a hearty,
Go get him.
and he smacks me on the butt. I suppress a scream, leaning forward in shock. As I stand, the barbell clanks against the underside, and it catches on the rack. My eternal savior springs to my aid, circling to the left, to lift up one side of the bar into place. This throws me off balance, and the angle causes the bar to slide sidelong off my shoulders. I tumble sideways, and the bar slams into the ground. I crumple to my knees under the weight.
Oh, shit. Sorry, Lady Saber. I was just trying.
Now I really scream. I can't find the English words, but French pours out like molten iron.
Just go yourself, you useless idiot! Get the away from me!
The back of my neck feels like it's on fire. I've drawn the attention of everyone in the area code, and one of the personal trainers sprints over, frantically hoisting the bar off my spine.
Ma'am, you alright?
I nod, curling my arms around my head, tears hot against my face, while Sam is blubbering mindlessly.
I don't know what happened. She just fell and the bar slid and I
saw exactly what happened, buddy. You stay right there.
The personal trainer takes me off the floor, and he walks me over to the medic, while blood sheets down my back. Sam trails grimly. He sits paralyzed in the office. He's getting chewed out by the trainer, while the gym's medic patch me up, and he writes up an incident report. While the wound was a mess, it was mostly superficial, and it healed without scarring. Sam, however, he would never admit it, but he was banned from the gym and all of their subsidiaries.
Story number 15. Ser Sam takes a hike.
Hello everyone, my Lady Saber here, with the last installment of Ser Sam the Chivalrous. Trigger warning, this tale will encompass 3 straight days of interaction with Ser Sam, and this is extremely long. So let's introduce the characters. Player 1, Lady Saber, House of Snark. Very enthusiastic about backpacking. I just joined a local venture crew at the beginning of the month. Similar to fencing practice, appearances take a back seat while in the wilderness. Makeup would just be something else to carry around. So I pull my hair up into a tight bun and ponytail to keep it from getting disgusting. My cute outfits get traded for athletic shirts and cargo pants. Player number 2. My boyfriend John. He is also an outdoors person. He is the one who invited me to the first venture meeting. Has a bone-dry sense of humor, and he's much better than I am at keeping a straight face. Player number 3, Ser Sam the Chivalrous, the whitest knight, trademark, in all of Westeros. Has likely never spent more than 3 consecutive hours outside. He wears a baggy long-sleeve shirt, a wide-brimmed blue fedora, brand new hiking shoes, and thick cargo shorts. Finally, one of his clothes articles is appropriate for the occasion. In case you've forgotten, Sam has a high-pitched whiny voice, which he often employs as the alpha male to get what he wants. Minor player, but important. Jamie, the venture crew president. He's a year or 2 older than John and I, and he's a pretty average dude. He has a lot of backpacking experience. He's a fantastic leader, and most importantly, he's got a cool head. Friday evening, my host mother drops me off at the church parking lot. Most who are going to attend are already present. I turn in a check to pay for the trip and the rest of my medical forms. There are 14 people attending, 4 of them being adults, all evenly split between genders. I was only barely able to attend this trip. I didn't bring any of my backcountry gear to America, as I didn't have enough space on my flight, and I didn't think that I would have any chance to go backpacking. I was wrong, and my real father, a real VIP, paid a stack to have my gear shipped. I still had to get some stove fuel and a few other things that you can't put in the mail. I had planned to be early, but I am one of the last to arrive. Everyone is gathered around a large plastic bin, reorganizing their packs. While we all have personal gear, clothes, sleeping bags, survival stuff, there is still a lot more to add. Items like tents, first aid kits, iodine tabs, a trowel, camping stoves, and our food. I'm examining some of the outdated crew gear. I decided to don my white armor and speak to Jamie.
Hey, Jamie? I don't want to sound rude, but a lot of this crew gear is really heavy.
Oh, hey Lady Saber. The stuff we have isn't the best, but it gets your job done. Don't worry, we split it up so that everybody gets equal weight.
I realized with annoyance that he lumped me in with Ser Sam. Here's my second chance at a first impression.
Yeah, I get that, but I have my own stuff that might work better than what we have.
Oh, really?
His tone was thick with skepticism.
The stove you have uses liquid fuel in a metal canister. Each one weighs about 1 kilo. The one I have uses butane fuel. I don't know how fast yours works, but I can boil water in about 5 minutes.
I've gotten his interest now.
I've heard of those. Can you show me?
I spend the next few minutes setting up the stove. The burner clicks into place. I light the gas to reveal a blue flame, and I've drawn a crowd.
That's awesome. What else you got?
That feels good when you prove that you know your stuff. By the end of my show and tell, I've replaced 2 of their heavy stoves with mine, and their heavy metal trowel with a high-density plastic one. I carry those things, plus a bear bag and other essentials. My 3-person tent group split up the components. I carry the pole and stakes. As we move on to repack our food, Sam's minivan crests the hill. A lot like a carnival roller coaster of dubious safety. He's in the driver's seat, with Mrs. Sam on the passenger side. As they get closer, it's easier to see how frustrated his expression is. His mom points for him to turn left. Sam bangs the steering wheel in frustration, just like a corporate dad in traffic. I can see by the way his mouth is moving that he's raising his voice. They park crooked near the group. Sam squirms out of the driver's seat and opens the back door, producing a totally loaded backpack. He shoulders it, hops, and starts clipping all the buckles into place. Once he's sufficiently mummified, he strides toward me, tipping his fedora in greeting.
Hey, Lady Saber! Looks like I'm right on time.
Yeah, I guess. We're splitting up our gear, so make sure you're checked in.
Sam bobs away happily, and I return to repack our food. The rations we get are sealed in plastic. Each one contains enough for 2 people. John and I pair up for the eating group. I take Sunday's breakfast and Saturday's dinner. To repack them, I open the bag, take out the original main course, and replace it with the one that the crew provided. With that, my bag is ready to go, along with most everyone else. Of course, Sam is not quite there yet. He was on the attendee list, so his crew gear and food was already set aside. Upon discovering this, however, my gentle sir is most displeased.
Hey, Jamie, what's all this junk?
That's your gear, Sam.
No. My stuff is right here.
He jerks a thumb over his shoulder.
Yes, but there's other stuff you have to carry for the crew. And your food. Stuff we all need to use.
Sam empties his first flagon of wine.
But no one else is carrying extra stuff. Why do I have to do it?
Sam, we've already packed. Everyone's waiting for you.
Well, that gets him moving. He crams a coil of rope in first, and a first aid kit, while Jamie carefully goes over his pack.
Hey, Sam. I just wanted to go over some of your gear, okay?
Why?
Just to make sure you have everything.
I have everything I need, Jamie.
Great. This should go quick then.
Jamie rattles out his list of essentials, and Sam produces each item. After some rummaging, he has a smug grin. Now, I have to give credit where credit is due. Sam does his homework. It took me years to learn all about what to bring, what I need, not to mention buying it all. Sam, doubtlessly with the help of his mom, collected these items in less than a month. If neckbeards are good at anything, it's Googling. For the drive, we get assigned in cars. And guess who's in mine? Not Sam. God be praised. John and I ride together with Jamie and another girl that I was tenting with. After an hour of driving, we park at the campsite. We pile out of the car and gather ourselves. I, with everyone else, take off my Venture uniform shirt. We're required to wear them for the events, but they're not really practical or comfortable to wear during activities, so I start to unbutton my shirt, thus revealing my tank underneath. When I notice Sam watching me, he snaps his gaze to the side when I look up at him, but carefully returns when he thinks I'm not looking. My skin is crawling. So I finish changing on the other side of the car. With the sun sinking low, we strike out. John and I walk abreast, alternating between holding hands and punching each other. Ser Sam, sensing that his chivalry is needed to protect my lady and her honor, wedges himself between John and I. The trail might be wide enough for 2 or even 3 normal-sized humans, but with Ser Sam in the mix, John is forced to go off-roading. So John and I fell back behind Sam, so he slows down. So we pick up the pace, and thus the game of leap whale continues. This went on for about 2 kilometers. By the end, however, Sam is lagging further and further behind, until he's at the back of the group.
Hey, Jamie! Can I take a break?
He's breathing hard enough to stoke a fire, and sweating like he's been standing in one, despite the cool temperature.
Sure thing, Sam. $5 for everyone.
Jamie sets his watch as Sam unclips his pack, and he collapses in a heap on the ground. Everyone else still remains standing, with their packs on.
Sam, don't sit down. It's just a $5. You don't sit for a short break, Sam. It just makes it harder to keep going.
They argue about what one is supposed to do during a 5-minute break for the next 6 minutes, which is about as effective as reasoning with a stubborn box of pasta. Thankfully, Jamie has a cooler head than Sam. When it's time to go, Sam activates his passive-aggressive alpha male mode, taking forever to put his pack on. Watching him don it is a circus of its own. After a significant struggle and 3 people helping him, Sam finally gets back on his feet, and he's huffing and puffing. Before we've gone another half a kilometer, Sam starts complaining about his feet hurting.
Hey, Jamie, can we take a break?
That's not going to help your feet, Sam. We've got a long way to go to our campsite.
The crew is forced to match the pace of Sam's. He trails in the rear of the group, with the adults trying to give him a pep talk through every step. By the end of the 4 kilometers, snails are outrunning us. We are forced to take a 20-minute break so that Sam can catch his breath. It has gotten totally dark, but on we hike, at a crawl. At long last, we arrive at the campsite. As my tent mates and I start setting up the tent, Sam stumbles over.
Hey, Lady Saber, want a tent together?
What?
Do you want a tent with me? I have, the tent parts and you have the poles.
No, Sam. Girls and guys can't tent together. Your tent mate is on your side.
He opens and shuts his mouth a few times, looking for an argument, before slumping away muttering something to himself. As soon as we finish our tents, we have to hang our bear bags. They were to be filled with food and other smellables that might attract some furry friends. There is a very low likelihood of bears where we're camping, but it's a good practice nonetheless. Sam and his tent mate, who we'll call Pip, have taken a long time to get set up. So they're fashionably late as we fill our bags. Hanging the bear bags was a chore. We have to throw 2 ropes over a tree branch. It has to be at least 10 meters up. And you gotta tie the bags together. You gotta hoist them in the air and secure them on 2 lines on different trees. Sam is desperate to demonstrate his prowess to my lady in the wilderness. He offers to throw one of the ropes. Jamie, echoing our sympathies, is in no mood for shenanigans that would probably keep everyone awake. In the dark, it's a challenge to hang the bags, but not impossible. After we finish, Jamie tells everyone,
Get some sleep, everyone. We'll be waking up early tomorrow morning.
Sam is not pleased.
Wait, Jamie, aren't we going to have a campfire?
Sam, it's almost midnight. Go to bed.
What about food? I'm hungry.
We aren't eating tonight, Sam. You should have had dinner before we left. That was in the email. Don't worry. We'll have breakfast in the morning.
Sam fills another cup of wine in protest, but everyone else has already turned in. I snuggled down into my sleeping bag, and I was dreading the next day. It seemed that I closed my eyes for less than a few seconds when it was light inside. I'm not sure what time it is, but I let the air out of my sleeping pad and crawl out of my bag. I throw on clothes and stuff everything into its sack. I peek out into the camp. I'm one of the first ones to awake. So I rouse my tent mates and we start to break down the tent. We have a long enough trek today, and I don't want to think about how much longer it's going to take to tow Sam like a river barge. After taking down our tent and splitting up its parts, the bear bags come down, and we spill our contents on the ground like Lannister blood. I find breakfast and dinner to carry, which I shove into my bag. By now, almost everyone is awake. They're involved in taking down their tents, or helping other people speed the process. Pip approaches Jamie.
Sam won't get up.
He what?
He won't get out of his sleeping bag. He told me to piss off when I tried to wake him up.
Jamie and Pip hurry to Sam's lair. Jamie yells through the tent wall.
Get up, Sam. Everyone else is getting ready.
Dude, it's not even light outside. Go away. I'm still sore from yesterday.
Jamie has run out of patience with him. He unstakes the fly and rips off the top. I can't see Sam in his splendor, but I imagine his facial expression is something between Smeagol's fear and Gollum's anger. John and I are sitting on the ground, eating our breakfast and trail mix, plus this freeze-dried cardboard, when Sam emerges from hibernation. He and Pip dismantle the tent, and they get ready to go, with everyone staring on. As we start our trek, Sam tries to keep pace with me, and he starts asking,
How's your feet not hurting with those old beat-up boots like that?
They're broken in.
What does that even mean?
Sam, just leave me alone right now, okay?
We hike on at a respectable pace, about 2 kilometers, until Sam starts begging for a break. While we stand, John shows me his new toy. He showed me a stick pin with the ends cut off. He pulls it from his pocket, pulls out a plastic BB, and pops it in his mouth. He concealed the tube in his fist. He fires a pellet back at Pip's shoulder with a quiet. It doesn't hurt. In fact, it's barely perceptible. It's like a small raindrop. It's just enough to make someone turn around, scratch uncertainly, and glance to see if someone tapped them, then disregard it as nothing. If you're the covert culprit of this spectacle, it's hilarious. He pelts him a few more times before setting his sight on Sam. He crams a small handful of pellets into his cheek. He lands a hit on Sam's lower leg. Sam scrambles at it. He brushes his skin with his foot. He examines the ground. The majority of our morning hike is an uphill climb. The elevation change is gradual, but Sam acts like he's marching the Trail of Tears, if the tears are saturated in high fructose corn syrup. Finally, we cross a small stream. We take the opportunity to refill our water, pumping through a filter into our bottles, and we drop in iodine tablets. I don't carry bottles, though I just have a Camelback and another separate bladder, which is significantly awkward to fill with a pump designed to screw onto the bottle. John holds the bladder steady when I pump, occasionally splashing it on me. Sam is not to be outdone by the chivalry though. He rushes to my aid. He grabs the other side of the bladder while I pump, and valiantly prevents any sloshing tomfoolery from John. Soon, Sam realizes that letting the fragile milady do all the work was unacceptable. He wrists the pump from my hand, leaving me standing like Tom Sawyer while he slowly pumps water. Of course, pumping these 3 liters of water through a filter is actually a lot of work, and Sam takes frequent breaks. He wiggles his arms like a wet spaghetti noodle. I try to talk him into giving me the pump, but the chivalry is just too strong with this one. Finally, Jamie saves the day.
Sam, is that your camel?
No, it's Lady Saber's.
Okay, but you need to fill up your own containers. We've got another filter over here. I think Lady Saber can handle her own water pump.
I'm trying to be helpful, Jamie.
That's great, Sam, but we gotta get going. Come fill up.
Already have.
No, you haven't.
How do you know that?
Because I've been watching you. I think you've drained your camel and at least one of those water bottles.
Well, that's creepy as Jamie.
Jamie shrugs.
It's my job. Now, give Lady Saber the pump and fill up your own water bottle. We're all waiting on you.
Sam shifts uncomfortably.
I haven't emptied my camels.
Well, you haven't filled them up either. Come on, Sam.
I don't want to water it down.
This catches everyone's attention.
What are you talking about?
Jamie pauses.
Sam, show me what's in your containers.
Sam refuses repeatedly, until Jamie snatches one of Sam's bottles from the side pocket of his pouch, and he unscrews the lid.
Is this soda? Jesus, Sam. Is that what's in your camel too?
No, it's just sweet tea.
At that, the adults play the safety card. They talk Sam into pouring out the beetus juice and filling it up with water. The rest of the group watches in stunned silence as Sam pours out the libations into the stream. After replacing the fizzy sugar syrup with water, Sam's pace improves. Instead of a crawl, we hike more at a tired trudge. While the original plan was to eat lunch while fishing, we're so far behind that we have to walk while we eat. We take about 5 minutes on the rocky clearing to admire the view, which is truly spectacular. Though I don't remember it quite vividly, as I do Sam's comment.
This is kind of lame, huh?
No, I actually think it's pretty.
Yeah, me too. I'm just talking about, the hike uphill.
Oh.
While hiking uphill sucks, I'm in no hurry for Sam to think that his wooing attempts are even remotely successful. It's afternoon by the time we crest the ridge and we begin our downhill descent. While we had planned to be well into our fishing now, we've only covered about 8 kilometers in 5 hours. I think most species of rock moves faster. Thankfully, downhill speeds us up, and we cover the remaining kilometer in just under 2 hours. Everyone is relieved to finally be at the fishing place. One of our adult leaders is the owner of the property, so she wastes no time jumping into her talk. Things are fine until she asks,
Who here's 16 or older?
Most hands, including mine and Sam's, go up.
All right, if you're over 16, I'll need to see a fishing license, and then we should be good to go.
We dip into our packs to get our slips of paper. John and I have gotten ours a week before, as part of our greater study of the wild creatures of Walmart. When my lady of the fish reaches Sam, things go off the rails, like a freight train sideswiping a children's hospital.
Do you have a fishing license?
I forgot.
Oh, I'm sorry, buddy, but I can't let you fish without a license.
But don't you, own the land?
Well, yeah, but I don't own the fish.
I didn't know I needed one.
I'm a little fuzzy on the details, but I think that's the same way that Jesus turned water into wine.
There was an email sent out to everyone. Did you read it?
No, my mom did. She didn't tell me.
Well, your mom isn't on this trip, buddy. That's your responsibility. I'm really sorry, but there's nothing I can do about it.
We get fishing poles and bait them while Sam stews in the grass. John and I find a shady spot on the riverbank. I don't have the patience for fishing, so John lets me try the pellet tube thing. The pellets are biodegradable, so I don't feel bad about it landing in the river. I'm a decent shot, but I'm no good at keeping a straight face, nor hiding the tube in my fist. Jamie, my first target, caught on pretty quick and returned fire with tiny river rocks. After about an hour of catching nothing, John became convinced that crickets would serve as better bait. Those little things aren't easy to catch, but when I get a hold of one, I drop it down the back of his t-shirt. During all this time, Sam is either wandering between different people or sitting on the ground like an angry bump on a spiteful pickle. Eventually, he does make his way over to John and I, plopping down next to me with a thud that tips the Richter scale. I do not have much tolerance for a one-sided conversation about
stupid of a mom didn't tell me.
So John and I cross to the other side of the river. The water is ankle deep, but our boots are waterproof. From the other side of the moat, we see Sam fee-fi-fo-fumming back and forth. He's doing this along his side of the bank. He keeps busy alienating everyone he talks to, with the same conversation topic, removing his fedora and punching into it a few times. The respite I get from Sam lasts a few precious hours, until it's time to cover the remaining distance to the campsite. We turn in our fishing gear and mount our packs. The remaining 2 kilometers are behind us before sunset, and we set up our camp. For dinner, we fill an enormous pot of water and balance it precariously atop my tiny camp stove. While the water turns to a boil, we dig out our dinner rations and eating utensils. I hadn't paid much attention to the dinner while I repacked it, but now I take a look at the package. Dehydrated spaghetti and Italian meatballs. Sam's sour mood brightens like a fluorescent bulb. It has to sit for a few minutes as the food cooks itself, and Sam looks like he's gonna jump out of his skin in excitement. Once it's ready, he dumps the whole thing onto his plate, and Jamie barely stops him.
That's the feed too, Sam. You and your tent mate. Plus, we gotta say grace.
Jamie asked me to lead the dinner prayer. Although the only ones I know are in Latin, Sam suffers through it, but it is contained with the euphoria of the noodly reward. After begrudgingly allowing Pip to cipher half of the dinner, Sam dives in face first. Suffering through a full day of exercise makes this feeding more obscene than usual. It's like shovel feeding a vacuum cleaner attached to a Vitamix blender. John and I eat straight out of the pouch with sporks to avoid the dirty plates, and we had to keep our eyes averted to maintain our appetite. The open mouth chew smack gulping is still almost too much for me. Eventually he does finish, and after the rest of us scarfed down our package of side items and cleaned our plates, we decided to build a fire. Sam is excited for that too. He scampers for his pack. He produces no less than 3 different fire starters, a flint, a box of matches, and a Zippo lighter. Jamie roosts to collect firewood and gets a dozen well-fed people to hunt for sticks. It's like herding feral cats with a feather duster. Half an hour later, we have a nice-sized fire pile. Our fire ring is a metal rim of an old truck tire. It's half buried in the ground. Jamie and John work hard to set up the structure, while Sam eagerly flicks his lighter open and closed.
Okay, Sam, you want to light it? Go ahead.
Sam kneels with his lighter, hits the striker, and nothing. Sparks every time, but the flame never catches.
It's not working. I just got this stupid thing.
Is there fuel in it?
Of course there is. It's brand new.
Zippos don't come with fuel, Sam. Here, let me take a look.
Sam cradles his lighter like the last can of SpaghettiOs.
No way, dude. I know how to use it.
All right, let's see.
A minute or two of finagling, and Sam manages to pull apart the lighter, revealing the fuel reserves are bone dry. as a milady would be after the tip of a fedora. Pip gets a flame to catch with his lighter, and a few of us take turns breathing life into the embers. Soon a splendid fire is licking away. John and I lean our packs against a nearby tree as a makeshift sofa back.
Oh, hey, I've got a surprise for you.
A John surprise is usually something along the lines of an exploding zucchini or a two-headed frog, but he pulls out a Ziploc bag with some stuff in it.
S'mores.
I've never done these before, but I'm all about a toasted marshmallow. I get a twig from the fire pile, and I strip the bark off with a knife. I skewer the puffball, and I rotate it gently in the flames. John sets his on fire, and he blows it out only after it develops a black, ashy crust. I think it's gross. I let mine get golden brown and crispy. The graham crackers are crunched a little, and the chocolate is just melty enough to make a mess. We were able to eat 3 of them each. As it devolves into throwing crumbs at each other, I eventually can't stand to have melty goop on my hands anymore. So I lick 2 fingers and reach into my camp pack and grab a towel, but it's not where I usually keep it. My fingers close around something else, which I gingerly pulled out. It was my pocket Bible. My father has stuck it in one of the outside pockets. He must have shipped it like that. He read it to me as a little girl. It's pretty much one of the only things we have in common. There's a little note inside the front cover. The whole thing makes me teary-eyed and homesick. I tuck under John's arm and open to Luke, where my favorite parables are. Sam spies my 2,000-year-old cartoon and decides to enlighten my lady with his euphoric intelligence.
You know, the Bible has like thousands of contradictions in it.
I don't care, Sam.
Well, you should. I mean, you should understand what you believe, right?
I ignore him, but he still presses on.
Right?
While I'm seething, John steps in. Hey Sam, this fire's about to die.
So, throw some fucking wood on it.
No, that won't help it. It needs a special tool.
What? What kind of tool?
It's a left-handed wind shifter. I think it's over near the pile of crew gear.
A few other people sitting around the fire is in on the joke, and they egg Sam on. I duck to hide my foolish grin.
It's about this long, and it has a handle on one end, and this weird-looking thing on the other. Trust me, you'll know it when you see it.
Okay.
Tell you what, I'll give you a marshmallow if you find it.
He who exalts himself shall be humbled. Sam jogs over a few paces away. He goes to the pile of crew gear. He shuffles around in the dim firelight, searching for a tool that doesn't exist.
What's it look like?
It's long and skinny, with a handle on the end. You'll know it when you see it.
John lets fly a few pellets, while those of us still sitting around is trying not to crack. Even John lets a smile slip. Every 30 seconds or so, he'll fire a pellet towards Sam's shape.
Hey, are you guys like feeling like raindrops?
It's probably ticks, Sam.
Ticks?
Yep, little guys smell you and fall out of the trees. You should check yourself. Make sure you don't have any hanging on you, especially on your, equipment.
How he keeps a straight face, I will never know. I shove another marshmallow into my mouth. That way I don't catch the giggles. None of this is more than standard new guy teasing, but most don't eat it up like a bag of Doritos. John tosses Sam a marshmallow, and soon everyone sitting around the fire is roasting one. John burns his as a sacrifice to the red god. I turn mine slowly, getting it crispy on the outside, and almost melty enough to fall up the stick. And I shove it in my mouth, and Sam starts to snicker.
Lady Saber, I bet that's not the only white sticky stuff you swallow.
He forces out a nervous chuckle. Pip has the stones to call him out.
Sam, that's nasty.
The perfect marshmallow turns to acid as it goes down, and John is about to speak up, but I start first. I squeeze John on the thigh, look straight at Sam and say,
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right.
Then Sam evaporates, as everyone gives me 100% for being cool and witty. Okay, that's not what happened, but outside of my imagination at least, I considered it, before remembering rule number 1 of neckbeards: do not feed their spank bank. Instead, I spill my guts out like the guy from Saving Private Ryan.
Take that back, Sam.
Why?
Because it's gross and it's not funny. Take it back.
It was just a joke. Get over it.
No, it's not a joke. It's repulsive, like you.
What?
I am so fed up with you, Sam. You follow me around and you ruin everything I enjoy doing. You insult me and you don't care how I feel about what you say.
It's not the venomous hellfire that I had imagined. It was just calm, even killed rage.
What are you even talking about? I'm nice to you.
I wouldn't have even come if it wasn't for you.
I don't want you here, Sam. You're not nice to anyone. You're mean to your mother. You're mean to my boyfriend. I don't want to be your friend. Please, leave me alone.
My heart is crawling out of my throat, but he finally takes the hint. For a second, there's a thunderous silence. Sam stands clenching his fist, and he stalks back to the tent without a word. Pip breaks the ice, tossing a stick into the fire.
I hate that kid.
After another hour or so, the rest of us put out the fire, and we filter off to bed. Most of the adults are already asleep. As I snuggle down into my bag, I could hear Sam's voice carrying through the woods. The walls of the tent might seem snug and secure, but they are zero soundproofing. From the distance, it's hard to make out the words.
She's... I'm...
Pip's response is nothing more than a mumble.
But... tried... nice... Dude, just bed. You think... a good... time?
Jamie's voice rings out clear as a bell.
Shut the hell up and go to bed.
The next day is unremarkable. Sam avoids eye contact with me and deliberately keeps his distance. We pack up and we hike the short distance back to our cars, and we return home right on time. Sam's mom waves to me and smiles, and they leave the church parking lot. That was mostly the end of my interactions with Ser Sam the Chivalrous. We didn't share any classes, and he stopped going out of his way to see me otherwise. Over the summer, we didn't speak or come into contact. Good riddance to our neckbeard ham planet. Thanks for watching. This will probably be it for the rest of the week. This took me quite a while to do. Hope you guys enjoy it. It's only 3 hours, I'm sorry about that. But we remastered it, as you could probably tell. We put in sound effects, made sure the voices kind of matched up. I want to thank Mrs. Fun with Failure for helping me out. My name for her is Red, because she's got red hair. Yeah, no, right? Isn't it original? I want to give a special thanks to my patrons. Your assistance means a lot. Thank all of you for joining me. If you want to be a patron, it'd be greatly appreciated. You'll get advanced MP3s for just $1 a month. If you don't want to do that, you can also support the channel by checking out my merch store. I will be doing some extra stuff to it really soon with new stuff. If you're not already, please subscribe and push that like button. And also very important to me, please leave a comment. I read every one. If I've read your comment, it's gonna have a thumbs up on it. If not, a heart. Regardless, I love reading every one, and it keeps me going. Again, thanks for listening, and until next time, this is Dallas, signing off.